And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kralik versus Killen, step forward, please.
Hairstylist Phil Kralik is suing his former friend, realtor Donnie Killen, for a loan to attend massage therapy school. Donnie claims Phil made the tuition payments behind his back.
Mr. Kralik, you and the defendant were friends, and according to your complaint, you made a loan to him for school tuition.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Mr. Callen acknowledges that you paid $2,000 for his tuition at massage therapy school, and according to him, it was a gift. He never made a contract with you for repayment. Is that right?
Correct.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding this loan, Mr. Kralik.
Your Honor, the defendant came to me in June of last year, in 2004, and had expressed the idea of going to massage therapy school. He said
what was he doing at the time?
He was a real estate agent, Your Honor. He said that he was checking into the school. He didn't have enough money to go pay for it himself. Shh. He asked me if he could borrow the money, and I felt like I wanted to help him. He was my friend. I was given help when I got into my career, and so I got the money together and wrote a check.
Who did you write the check to?
I wrote the check to the school, Your Honor, and I do have that for you.
I also have a copy, Your Honor.
Mr. Killen, don't speak until I look in your direction.
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to have an opportunity to testify. Right now, it's his turn. We know about turns?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Did you give him this check?
No, Your Honor. I took it down to the school.
Was he with you when you took it to the school?
He was there that day, Your Honor, I believe.
Was he with you when you took the check to the school?
Not immediately, no.
Okay. What was the conversation that you had immediately preceding you taking this down to the school?
We had discussed that he needed to have some time to pay it back. I was not in any hurry.
Stop shaking your head. What you're doing is in the form of testifying, sir, and it's irritating to me. You don't want to irritate me before I hear your side of the case, do you?
No.
That would be a very dumb thing for you to do. And what you're doing is irritating me.
Yes, ma'am.
So stop it.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, we discussed that he would need a grace period. It's a clientele building business. I'm in a clientele building business.
What kind of business are you in?
I'm a hairstylist, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I knew it would take him time to get established, and I wasn't worried about getting the money immediately. So we decided we would have installments that he would pay me a few months after he got out of school. He was my best friend. I wasn't trying to put him in a situation that would set him up for failure.
Did you complete the course?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you currently working in that field?
No, ma'am. The
Why not?
license laws in the state of Illinois have changed. You need an additional 400 hours.
400 hours for what?
In order to become licensed with the state. You need another 400 hours of class.
Of class?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when do you intend to do that?
Actually, at this point in time, I don't intend to. The discussion about...
I'm asking you specific questions.
Okay.
So you haven't gone back to work in this field?
Not in this field.
Go ahead.
You know, I made several attempts to collect this money from him with no success, and I decided I had no choice.
Now I'll hear you, sir.
There was never any talk of a loan, Your Honor. The matter was discussed around about May 11th when I was at an appointment at his salon. He did free haircuts and manicures for me because I was his best friend. We discussed approximately around then. I looked into actually the massage school itself. On May the 17th, I enrolled. I actually have a payment plan agreement with the school from when I enrolled.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
So you agreed to pay the school?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So you had every intention of paying for this career-enhancing service?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Go ahead.
When I started school on June the 7th was actually the first day of school. I had gone in and found that Mr. Kralik had made the $2,000 payment to the school, and we had a small discussion after that about him going in and doing it. He did it before I actually made it to class that day, and he said that this was just something he did for friends. He assisted friends in this manner.
He didn't say to you something like, you know, when you have a tuition plan at the school, you have to pay them a certain time. But I figure if I gave you this $2,000, we can have a more flexible repayment schedule, you know, when you get clients or when you get
No,
back
ma'am,
into
the school
business.
was very flexible with their payment plans, but I had $15,000 worth of closings coming up in the next couple of months, which I could have actually paid the school and had every intention.
That's very nice. Now, and you're no longer friends.
No.
And you had this $15,000 from your real estate coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you feel it would be appropriate, if you had all intentions of paying for the school, sir, to give him back the money that he invested?
He, on several occasions, had held it above my head in arguments.
He held it over your head in
Anytime.
arguments, but like what?
Anytime there was an argument, he'd always say, well, I paid for your massage school. And I had actually voiced to him, well, then on my next closing, I will give you the money back. That
Yes.
way, you'll just leave me alone and not
Right.
bother me anymore with it. And he had told me on those several occasions he would not cash those checks. I told him I knew who he borrowed the money from, and I would go write the check directly to him.
So are you telling me, Mr. Killen, that the plaintiff borrowed money because he didn't have the $2,000 in cash, to give it to you for school tuition because you didn't have the money at the time, but you were expecting $15,000 in within a couple of weeks. Is that what you're telling me?
Correct, ma'am.
You're some piece of work, Mr. Killen.
He has never requested payment. He's never asked for any
Well,
payment
what do you
on
think
this.
he's doing
There was
here?
never any
You think
establishment
he's
of a
doing?
loan.
I'm speaking. You think he's here, sir, because he wants to ask me out on a date?
I think he's here
He's
because
here because he wants his $2,000.
I think he's here because this is another of his vindictive actions. He does this to everyone.
Well,
And I even have a witness to testify to his vindictive actions.
To you?
To his vindictive
To
actions
you?
towards me, yes.
Tell me your name.
My name's Chris.
Chris, you have a last name.
Eddie.
How do you know him?
I don't know Mr. Kralik. The only time I met him was when I was assisting Donnie from moving from his apartment into the condo that he had purchased.
And?
There was discussion while we were at the condo. Mr. Kralik made the comment that he wouldn't make Mr. Killen go through the property management to get his deposit back if they were still friends. We had to...
Just a second. If they were still friends, he wouldn't make Mr. Killen go to the property manager to get his deposit back.
Right.
Okay, that's the vindictive testimony that you wanted me to hear? I just want to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Killen, you're a big boy. Take care of your obligations. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There was never a loan. He's just vindictive, and that's the reason we're here.
I'm very pleased with her verdict. I think justice won.
He was very violent. He threw a phone at me at one point in time.
I've never been violent. I've never thrown a phone.
Very argumentative.
A pillow, maybe, not a phone.
Chiropractor Dr. Richard Perry is suing nursing assistant Felissa Carlton for the cost to fix his Jeep Cherokee and for pain and suffering due to a car accident. Felissa says the accident was Richard's fault.
Well, yeah, this is case number 333 on the calendar, the matter of Perry versus Carlton. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir.
Mr. Perry, Miss Carlton, according to you, caused an accident.
That's correct, Your
Caused
Honor.
an accident causing damage to your car and injury to you.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Miss Carlton says that there was a merge, you wouldn't let her in, and once she got in, you accelerated. So the accident was your fault. You really weren't injured at all. You just behaved very badly. So you want to tell me first when this happened?
This occurred on July 26th of 2004, Your Honor.
That's your diagram. I'd like you to show me your car.
My car would be back here, Your Honor.
The red.
The defendant would be the blue car here.
So she was merging in behind a truck and in front of you.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Tell me what happened.
Well, we were proceeding westbound on Main Street, and this lane where you see the defendant is actually not a lane. It is a lane that has been merged into a right turn lane. What happened was she came from about 4 cars back. She decided to come up.
4 cars back, so she was behind
the
purple car.
She was actually in the left-hand lane about 4 cars back.
And how do you know that?
I saw her in my right rear view mirror.
So she came out of that lane, the same lane that you were in.
That's correct, Your Honor. Came down this center lane, which is blocked off because of construction, ran over this cone here, actually, behind this truck. We were moving at approximately 15 to 20 miles an hour. She then cut in very sharply behind the truck right in front of me, which was only about 5 feet distance. At that point in time, I had no options. I didn't have any reaction time. I ran over her rear end, which caused my right front end to go up over her rear end, causing my car to tilt to the left and then bounce back down.
What kind of car were you driving?
I'm driving a Jeep Cherokee, Your Honor.
And Miss Carlton?
Miss Carlton was driving a little Echo, Toyota Echo.
So your car actually went up on top of hers?
It actually went up on her wheel and came back down, Your Honor.
The whole back of the car?
No,
or
on her left rear quarter panel, where her tire is. It actually went up over it. There were scuff marks on her left rear quarter panel from my tire.
So the side?
Yes.
Of her car?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
At that point, I was thrown over to the side. When the car came back, I jammed my head on the door jamb. At that point, I honked and started honking vigorously. She stuck her hand out the window and waved at me and took off.
Where did she take off?
She took off into this left-hand lane, which proceeded left. At that point, there's an overpass at that point that goes over the freeway. On the other side of the overpass, there's a baker's restaurant. In that restaurant, she finally pulled into the restaurant. I pulled in, blocked her from turning out towards the left to get back on another street. And at that point, she stopped, exited her car, very profoundly said, "What are you doing?" I signaled, "What the are you doing?" And at that point, I asked her for her driver's license, her registration, and proof of insurance. She said, "I'm not giving you anything." At that point, she took a young child, it appeared to be a young male, out of the back seat of the car.
Is that what she said? I'm not giving you anything?
I'm not giving you anything. And she took this young male, which had not been seatbelted in. There was no car seat in that car. She
How
took
old
him
was
into
the child?
About 4 or 5 years old, Your Honor.
Okay.
She took him into the restaurant, was in there for about 10 minutes. In the meantime, I'm calling the police, reporting what was going on. She comes back out of the restaurant with food and the child. About 10 minutes later, a gentleman shows up, identifies himself as her husband, and proceeds to start cussing at me and yelling at me, and tells me that he's going to kick my and take care of me. And at that point in time, I walked away from them, again calling the police, telling them that this had escalated into an adversary situation and I needed help. We waited for about another 10 to 15 minutes. He talked with the defendant got in her car, and they drove away.
And you got their
The
license.
only thing I was able to get was the license plate off of her car.
So that's how you tracked it down.
I attempted to track it through the DMV, who, through multiple things, they decide you can't do that. They would notify her to notify me, which she had already decided not to give me that information.
Now, according to your complaint, sir, you were injured. I'd like you to tell me how you were injured.
I was having a lot of neck pain. I was having severe headaches. I went to see Dr. Recognized that this was a whiplash injury.
Listen to me. What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a chiropractor, Your Honor.
Okay. Who's Dr.
Doctor is a chiropractor.
A colleague of yours?
Yes.
Okay. How many days were you out of work, sir, after the 26th?
I was not out of work, Your Honor.
Good. How much damage did you have done to your car?
About $100 worth of damage.
Do you have
I have
receipt?
the estimates of the damages to my car, Your Honor.
Okay.
Exhibit 3.
Okay. May I see it, please?
Exhibit 3.
Exhibit 3. So this whole thing was $62.31. That was the damage to your car?
The end caps on my bumper and the stabilizer, Your Honor, yes.
Is there anything else other than Exhibit 3?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. You work 5 days a week, sir?
I work 6 days a week, Your Honor.
Okay. And you didn't miss any work?
I didn't miss any work, but I did
Good.
work in pain.
I'm sure your doctor friend was able to help you.
Yes. Yes, very definitely.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Mr. Richard Perry claims he was injured due to a car accident caused by Felissa Carlton. Felissa says Richard is a hothead.
All right, Ms. Carlton, I want you to tell me what happened, madam.
I proceeded to merge onto the left lane, and I looked over my shoulder. There was plenty of room, so I decided to keep going. And as I was proceeding, I heard an acceleration, and then I felt a slight bump. It didn't seem bad, so that's why I was like, because I was trying to say, it's okay, don't worry about it. But he honked, and he was raging, and so I didn't pull over right away until I got into Baker's, because there was no way I could pull over. We were going over the pass. So when I pulled over, I'm sorry, but he's the one who asked, what the F do you think you're doing? I tried to talk to him. I tried to calm him down. I said, my kids are in the car. And he says, I don't give an F. Who's in the car with you? And I couldn't calm him down. I couldn't talk to him. I couldn't give him any information.
Did he ask you for your license, registration, and insurance?
No, ma'am.
He did not?
No.
That would be odd.
I couldn't talk to him.
No. Ms. Carlton, I don't believe that.
I'm sorry.
I don't believe that. All right, sir. You want to step up?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Your wife called you and said she had been in an accident?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were those her exact words?
Well, what happened when she called me, she told me that she was just in an accident, and while she's talking to me, I heard the plaintiff cussing in the background, yelling at my wife, and I tried to get her, explain to me what happened, and she's trying to tell him to calm down, and so she could talk to me. And she said he's acting like a child. He won't exchange information, and I have the kids with me, so I immediately left work and I went to see what was going on.
So why didn't you give him a license, registration, and insurance?
I asked him. I said, "Well, is there anything you'd like to tell me that you were telling my wife?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "You're an idiot." Well, at that point, I told him in not so many nice.
Why didn't you just give him your license, registration, and insurance?
Because my wife had told me she had already tried that, and he was not cooperating.
Well, why didn't you try it, sir?
Well, at that point, I was there to take care of my wife, who was being attacked by an angry man.
He wasn't attacking her when you got there, was he?
He was on the phone when I heard him.
He was not attacking her when you got there, was he?
That's right. No, he was not.
And she had already been in the restaurant with your son.
Right.
Is that right? Gotten food, right?
Yes.
And when you went into the restaurant and you got the food, did you ask the owner of the restaurant if you could use the phone to call the police?
No.
And if somebody is attacking you, if somebody is acting like a lunatic, you do that, right? You call the police, you say, somebody is out there, I'm afraid, right?
Right. And I did.
And you didn't. You got hamburger and fries.
No, I didn't.
Now, you came outside before your husband arrived, correct?
Right.
Right. So if you're really afraid of somebody, if they're behaving like a lunatic, you stay inside the restaurant until either the police arrived, who you didn't call, or your husband arrives. That's just common sense. So I don't believe that you were frightened.
Okay.
I also think, Mr. Perry, that you overreacted. I don't think you make a big deal about something if you have a fender bender. You had a fender bender that cost you $62.31, not $5,000.
The medical expenses are what cost the most. There's about $4,000 in medical expenses, Your Honor.
As far as I'm concerned, Dr. Perry, if you are in so much pain that you have $4,000 worth of medical expenses, you miss 1 day of work.
Unfortunately,
Dr. Perry,
Your Honor,
you know where I'm going
my patients don't quite get to that point.
Listen, Dr. Perry, it's not a question of your patients not getting to that point. If you have $4,000 worth of medical expenses, you can't work, at least for 1 day. So I think that your medical expenses and your pain and suffering are a little bit of who shot John. But you are entitled to the amount of money to have your car fixed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $62.31. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I wasn't debilitated to the fact that I could not work.
If he's injured, he's injured.
It was debilitation to the fact that I was suffering pain.
I can't say I don't have his body.
I think he got what he deserved.
She's Judge Judy. She did her job.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of St. Germain versus Old. Step forward, please.
22-year-old dental assistant Kylie St. Germain is suing her ex-boyfriend, water treatment technician Jonathan Old, for an unpaid loan to have his teeth fixed and for the cost of a New Orleans hotel room.
Miss St. Germain, this gentleman was your boyfriend for a while, and according to your complaint, he owes you the balance of some dental work that you put on a credit card. And in addition, you say he pulled some sort of a scam when you were on vacation. You put some hotel rooms on a credit card, going away with a large group of people, and the next day he collected the cash from all the people that were with you, and instead of paying the hotel room in cash, he left it on your credit card and pocketed the cash.
All right.
The defendant says that he paid off the dental work and that he did not collect any money from the people that you were on vacation with, that the people that you were on vacation with stiffed you for the hotel room. That's his defense. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long?
About 2.5 years.
What kind of dental work did he need?
He needed to have some wisdom teeth pulled. 2 times had to replace a flipper.
What's a flipper?
Just a missing tooth appliance.
A missing tooth appliance?
Yes, ma'am.
You mean like a bridge?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, like a bridge. It's called a flipper?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much was all this dental work, sir?
I don't know. She took care of my bills. All I know is I paid her.
Mr. Old, you're going to explain to me how this worked. You lived together, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had a job, I assume?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much were you earning?
Monthly? I say around $2 grand.
And how much money did you give to Miss St. Germain for bills?
About $500 or $600.
Were you saving a lot of money?
No.
Well, if you were giving up $500 to $600 a month, what were you doing with the other $1,500?
Spending it, partying, drinking.
How come he needed money for his dental work?
I had bad credit.
He had bad credit. He needed a co-signer. He didn't have the money to come up with it up front, so I co-signed for him.
And he was paying the bill?
Yeah.
Until when?
Until February.
What was the balance left on the bill in February?
It was $656.35.
And how much was the bill initially?
$2,375.
So he made a lot of payments.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
He
ma'am.
made a lot of payments.
Yes, ma'am.
What'd you stop for?
Just, I guess we split up and I didn't get around to it.
Now let's get to the unauthorized use of the credit card. What is your name?
Chris Jarrow.
Were you on the trip with them?
Yes, ma'am.
So how did I know that? Smart lady. Step up. How many people went on the trip?
8.
Where did you stay?
The park on St. Charles.
You were in New Orleans?
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody having a gay old time?
Fun time.
Good. That's what I meant.
Yeah, that's what I thought you meant.
Yeah, I think things have a double meaning when you're younger these days. You have to sort of watch what you say. I think so. Anyway, you put the hotel room on your credit card.
I reserved the room.
You reserved the room. And everybody was supposed to kick in the money at the end and pay in cash. Now, did you in fact pay cash for the room?
Yes, ma'am.
Who did you pay the cash to?
John.
John. How much did you give him?
$100.
And what was the cost of the hotel room?
It was $803.66.
What about your $100?
I wasn't told that I was supposed to pay $100. He told me to reserve the credit card on, to reserve the room on the credit card, and he would take care of it at the end when we left.
Well, he was collecting money from everybody. You collected money from him.
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't say that here in your answer. You said that all the people stiffed her. But it's not just him. It's him and your $100 too, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So if I believed you, that would mean that $200 at least should have gone to pay this bill, and only $600 should have been on the credit card. But there was $800 on the credit card. Are you following me?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
I hate when they're so polite. It's hard to yell at them. Did you see anybody else give him money?
No, ma'am. I did speak with my friends who were with us, and I know them all, and they...
Well, that's sort of hearsay, right?
Right.
But you know their names, don't you?
Yes.
And if I were to call them, do you think, Mr. Old, that they would tell me that they gave you money or they didn't give you money?
I don't know.
Well, I'm going to ask you, sir.
I don't know. I mean, because some of them...
Mr. Old, if
I don't speak to some of them.
No, but that's not my question, sir. I didn't ask whether you spoke to them, whether you dated them, whether you ate with them, whether you socialized with them. That's not of particular interest to me. My question to you is a simple one. This gentleman knows the names of all those people.
Mm-hmm.
You just testified a moment ago, and we put in your answer that nobody gave you money. But clearly this young man gave you $100 that you didn't put towards the hotel room.
No.
And you had your stay of $100 that you should have put towards the hotel room, and clearly you didn't do that, right?
Yes.
So my question to you is, if I were to go in my chambers and pick up the telephone and call any of the other people...
They would say they didn't pay me.
They would say they didn't pay you.
Yeah.
Can I have the names and telephone numbers of any one of those people?
Yes, ma'am.
You can do it.
Okay. It's Chris, I don't know his last name. And it's 337-5.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Okay. Well, according to Chris, he gave $75 to Norma. He didn't give any money to Jonathan. I don't know what kind of an arrangement he had. In any event, certainly I know that $200 should have been turned over to the plaintiff. $200 plus the $656.30 is $856.30. $656 is for his dental work. Anything else you want to tell me?
The hotel was under his name.
Yes?
And he was supposed to be, you know, he was supposed to pay the bill.
He said nobody gave him any money. His money, his money. Got it? Don't use your credit card anymore. Use your credit card to get stiff. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $856.30. Thank you.
John, excuse me. Step out.
Couldn't pay his bills?
Too much partying.
I still have credit card debt.
At least I should pay her.
Contractor David Oravec is suing his ex-wife, 26-year-old Maria Oravec, for falsely accusing him of abusing their children. David says Maria is currently engaged to his brother, Daniel.
Yeah, this is case number 266 on the calendar in the matter of Oravec versus Oravec. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
Mr. Oravec, the defendant is your former wife.
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you married?
Almost 7 years.
And you have 2 children.
Yes, we do.
Recently divorced, and you, after a custody trial, you obtained custody of the 2 children. How old are they?
5 and 7 year, ma'am.
Your lawsuit claims, Mr. Oravec, that your wife has embarked upon a campaign to file allegations alleging domestic violence, alleging abuse of the children, etc., causing you to spend a substantial amount of money for attorneys. All of those allegations were ultimately dismissed, proven unfounded, and you want your former wife to compensate you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Oravec says that everything she said was true, and she is a good mother, and she has an absolute responsibility to report any instances of abuse of her children and abuse of herself. I gather from your complaint that this situation is exacerbated by the fact that your former wife is now either living with or engaged to be married to your brother. That's you. Is that right?
Yes.
Are you twins?
No.
No. How far apart are you?
2
in
years.
age? And I assume you don't speak.
No.
For how long?
Since the affair was found in my house.
And when was that?
Back in February last year.
And when were you divorced?
The divorce was entered in June 2nd, 2003.
And when were you ultimately awarded custody of the children?
Custody was done June 23rd. It was filed of 2004.
Between June of 2003 and June of 2004, with whom were the children living?
They were living with her primarily.
There was a custody trial?
No, ma'am. There was a settlement.
And what did you agree to in the settlement, Ms. Orvik?
I agreed to maintain joint custody with David, as well as switching primary residency over to him on information that the law guardian had given me, stating that he was not allowed to make any changes regarding the children without first clarifying it with me.
Don't qualify what you're saying to me. You agreed that the children's primary custodian would be their father.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Can I say something? Right? The reason that we went to court is because there's 8 circumstances which warrant a change of custody of emotional abuse towards the children, and we agreed upon this because she agreed upon it because she didn't want to go to trial.
I assume, Mr. Orvik, that the recommendation of the children's attorney
Yes.
was that the children be in your primary physical
Yes, they were,
custody.
Your Honor.
And that would have been dispositive, in all probability, at a hearing. Otherwise, was there any other reason that you gave up physical custody of the children?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you had physical custody of the children for a year.
I was too afraid of the punishment I might get if I hadn't given up custody of them.
That, madam, is baloney.
You may think so, ma'am, but it's not.
Baloney. Okay. Let's get to the first allegation, sir, that caused you to retain an attorney.
That was back in June 18th. She filed a violation.
You have to give me a year.
June 18, 2003. Sorry, ma'am. She filed with CPS, and then she filed the order of protection.
Okay. Do you have those reports?
Yes, I have everything. Here's the order of protection, dismissed and everything, and here's the unfounded reports from CPS.
Can I see?
Here's the amended temporary order of protection I had too also.
Just a second. You said it was in June of 2003. I have a letter here dated September of 2003, which indicates from Child Protective Services that you are the subject of a report of suspected child abuse. And I assume that it was you who made that report.
No, ma'am.
Who was it?
It was the children's pediatrician.
When did you take the children to the pediatrician and why?
I took the children to the pediatrician on June 16th of 2003 because they had come home from a weekend with their father covered in mosquito bites, my daughter particularly, and several bruises, one of which was so large on her leg that it looked like the size of the fist, and that's what the doctor had recorded.
Mosquito bites?
22 to be exact.
Oh, okay.
As well as sunburn to the point where their skin was peeling.
Now this is interesting. Just a second. September 11th, 2003 is when they notify you that there was a report. But then I have a letter dated August 30th, 2003, which indicates that they've done an investigation and they find that there is no credible evidence was found that the children were abused or maltreated, and therefore the report has been determined unfounded. How many reports were filed?
2 altogether. One was done back in February. Before that.
Well, that's what I want to know. There was one in
February. Sorry.
Because you can't have an unfounded letter that's dated before the report. So there was a prior report in February. Who filed the prior report?
That was done through CPS automatically because we were both arrested at our household for a domestic. She was charged with 3 charges, and I was charged with protecting myself.
What's next?
Well, since then, Your Honor, she's engaged in another filing false petitions against me now ever since I've been awarded custody of the children. And she has done nothing but, in that last year, harassed me by going to child support and saying I'm not paying child support, which I have court documents saying that I was not willfully trying to disobey a court order.
What was the child support order?
First it was $90 a week, then I agreed to pay $100, and then I agreed to pay $150, and then because we kept going back and forth to court, she wouldn't stop filing. So they said it was not willful, and then child support, and then I was...
Just a minute. When there were orders in effect for $90, $100, and $150 a week, did you make regular payments pursuant to those orders?
I was. I constantly keep paying.
It's not true, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
He says he wasn't in willful violation of the support order because he told the court that he didn't have a job. He owns his own business.
Just a second. Did you ever tell the court that you couldn't pay this order because
no, I did
you
not,
were
ma'am.
not working?
No, I did not.
Transcripts.
That was never an issue, like not paying child support.
He said he wasn't working at the time. He even had his father in court to verify that he wasn't working.
That sounds like a hard story for her to make up, sir. Listen to me.
I'm listening.
He also...
Very easy to verify. Did you ever have your father in court and testify in court that you were either unemployed or didn't receive any income? Did you or did you not? The answer is either yes or no. It's very easy for me to pick up a phone and find out.
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
He, at that time, had obtained a new boat, a new camper, various new home improvements to his house. And the judge asked him, where did these belongings come from? He claimed that they were his brothers, his little brothers, that he wasn't
Somebody
working.
Else's. So he's playing around with child support.
Right, that he wasn't working, and he was $2,300 in arrears at that point. At this point,
do you have any documentation?
I didn't bring it. I didn't think it'd be brought up here.
At the time that you took him to court, he was $2,300 in arrears. I believe her.
He is currently $700 in arrears.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Oravec says his ex-wife, Maria Oravec, owes for legal fees and harassment. David claims Maria has been filing false reports with Child Protective Services.
Now, how much do you pay?
We don't pay any.
How much? Listen to me. How much do you pay in child? Not we. How much do you pay in child support?
Neither one of us pay child support to each other.
You don't. He doesn't have to pay child support to you. He is the primary physical custodian of the children. You're supposed to pay child support to him.
He's never requested it.
Oh, Mrs. Orvik, he doesn't have to request it. You're supposed to pay it. You're supposed to give him money because he's taking care of the children. So stop complaining and fetching to me that he's $700 behind in child support. Do you work?
No, ma'am.
Get a job!
I have a job. I have 2 children.
You are not the children's primary physical caretaker.
But
Get a
they're with
job
me
and
daily.
support them. That's your job. So stop fetching to me that he's behind in child support. You have as much of an obligation to pay for the children when they're in his custody as he had to pay for the children when they were in your custody.
He didn't pay when they were in my custody.
And you don't pay a dime when they're in his custody.
I purchase everything for them outright.
I've heard that. Listen to me. You know how many times I've heard that from fathers who weren't primary physical custodians? I buy diapers and I buy milk and I buy things for them and I take them to the movies. That's not support. Get a job and support them. Now, when was the next order of protection that was filed, sir?
There was no more after that.
So what are you complaining about?
Because she constantly keeps bringing me back and forth to court. Now, even after I was awarded custody of the children, she filed another petition against me to try and get modification of the custody of the children again.
Let me see it.
I mean, it's a nonstop battle of harassment and attorney fees that I got to keep paying.
Well, what is this?
So now here's another petition.
Yes, what?
I said, with that last false petition or filed, there was a court order ordering us that we cannot go to the court for relief for 18 months unless we've attended Catholic charities. We did not attend Catholic charities, so she filed that petition in order. That was dismissed because of that.
Oh, so this was dismissed?
Yes, it was because she went against a court order.
Your Honor,
and they
he
told
keeps
her.
dodging Catholic Charities mediation program. He refuses to schedule. He refuses to pin down a date. He refuses to pay the $30 that it costs to go through mediation. He won't pin anything down just so he can avoid losing the kids. He knows he stands a substantial chance of losing these children now.
I have no idea why you gave them up in the first place.
Because I was stupid. Very, very stupid and scared.
Well, then, you know, if you were very, very stupid, you can't... Put your hand down.
Oh, sorry.
If you were very, very stupid, you can't inflict your stupidity on the children. Right
No,
now,
I
the
can't.
children are living with their father. And
They're living with both of us, ma'am. They go back and forth each week.
You mean 1 week they live with you and 1 week they live with him?
A 5- and 7-year-old have to get carted around every other week. It's not good for them.
That's what you agreed to. Listen, if that's what you agreed to, and if you don't believe it's good for them, then they should stay with their father.
He's not good for them, ma'am.
Listen, if you're their mother, and you voluntarily settled this matter, and I'm not going into it because to me, you had custody for a year. There was something that happened that convinced you that it would not be in your best interest to proceed to a trial in this case, a trial that you would clearly lose, because otherwise, unless you suffered a substantial breakdown mentally, you would not concede custody to the father who did not have custody. So there was something that you did or something that the court could have determined, and I'm not sure what it was.
I have it.
Well, you have a report?
Yes, I do. I have the
Can
report
see it?
right here.
He
Let me see it.
alleges abuse, Your Honor, but they're
No.
just
Let me see it.
allegations, and it's
This one right here.
nonsense.
The mother has engaged in a course of conduct designed to alienate the children from their father, and it goes on to list 6 instances where she has done that. The family court judge, in modifying the order of custody, clearly found that there was a change in circumstances sufficient to change the judgment of divorce and to modify the judgment of divorce, and ordered as follows. On consent of the parties, the mother and father shall continue joint custody of the minor children, with the children to reside with the father. That's what you consented to. And the judge found that there was a basis for that. Listen to me. You haven't established to my satisfaction anything as egregious as to require me to direct her to pay you for filing false charges against you. But I do suggest, sir, that you have the right to seek financial support from your former wife. She has an obligation to support these children just as you did when they were living with her. And I suggest that if you want to pursue that, you should go to Catholic Charities, proceed with whatever mediation there is in Catholic Charities, and then file a petition seeking child support, unless you are an independently wealthy person. Are you?
No, I'm not, ma'am.
Good.
According to him,
that's
he
all.
is.
Out.
Thank you, ma'am.
Where's the $12,000?
She's a very brilliant woman. I'm just glad that she sees the truth like everybody else has.
Once again, David has convinced someone that he's Mr. Charming, and he's not.
She's pregnant with a child that's not even his now. And my concern is how she can bring another child into this world when she can't even take care of the 2 children she has right now.
That's why Daniel and I are involved. He got me out of an abusive relationship. He saw his brother beating me up. His own brother can't stand him.
Well, they're sick. There's nothing else to say.
We're going to have a nice little family once we can get someone else out of our lives and have him move on.
You know, the devil works in mysterious ways. Unfortunately, it's influenced them. Nothing I can do about it.
No, I just figure it this way. I married a boob and ended up with a prize.
Cynthia Zane is suing her ex-boyfriend, handyman George Flores, for the money she paid him to work on her house. George says Cynthia never let him finish the job. He is countersuing for his out-of-pocket expenses.
Now, this is case number 274 on the calendar in the matter of Zane versus Flores. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Zane, according to what I read, you met the defendant in May of 2004. Where did you meet him?
I met him at a neighborhood bar.
Remember what date in May?
It was the first Friday in May. I think it was the 6th.
According to you, you and the defendant had a romantic relationship.
Correct.
And there came a time when he needed some money. 2 or 3 separate occasions. You loaned him the money, and the repayment was supposed to be work done in your home by the defendant. You paid him the money.
Correct.
He never did the work. Or he started the work but never completed it. And some he never did.
Well, he didn't do very much.
And so you want the money back.
Correct.
Mr. Flores says that there was never a romantic relationship that existed between the two of you, that you hired him to do work in your home. He performed the work. You never paid him. And he's got a counterclaim for that work. And both of you have claims against each other for harassment. Each of you say the other is harassing. So, what was the first loan, how much, and how did you give him the money?
I gave the money to him in cash.
For what?
It was for an automobile.
When was that?
That was June 6th, 2004.
And how much was it?
It was for $750.
So you gave him $750 then, and how was he supposed to pay you back that money?
He was supposed to perform work on my house.
What work, specifically, for the $750?
Okay, he was supposed to finish the trim around his sunroom, install a bathroom vanity and sink, repair to bathroom tile, cleaning, caulking, and treating mold and mildew.
I see you're looking at something. What is it that you're looking at?
I'm looking at the receipts he signed.
Can I see them, please? Did he do any of this work?
The only thing that he did, he mowed the lawn one time. He cut down a tree in the front yard. He power washed the front of the house.
And when did he perform this work?
Probably June 5th, maybe the 4th. First week in June.
Look, I asked you when the first money that you gave him was. You said it was June 6, 2004. You gave him $750 for a car.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, $750. Here's the receipt, and I have it dated 6/21/04.
Mm-hmm.
And he was supposed to finish trim around the sunroom, install a bathroom vanity, and he signed this thing, and you signed it, and it says paid in advance. But now you say that he did this work on June 4th. So he did the work.
He did part of the work.
Okay, so he did part of the work.
Right.
Good. Now, when was the next time you gave him money?
The next time I gave him money would have been a week later, maybe 10 days later.
Now, when did you start to have a romantic relationship with Mr. Flores?
Probably the second week of May.
Well, tell me about the nature of your romantic relationship.
The nature of our romantic relationship was he told me he was unmarried.
Did you go out for dinner?
We sat at Chili's one day, and he told me he was divorced in April 2004.
Did you ever take her to Chili's, sir?
Chili's?
Chili's restaurant.
Never.
Never.
Never did. Not a Chili's restaurant. Never
Did you ever take it to any restaurants, Mr. Flores?
No.
Oh, it's not it. Listen to me, Mr. Flores. I know everything.
No, ma'am. I only went to one, to Jackie D's. That was on the 19th of August. That's the last time we went out together, and...
Mr. Flores, you're not following what I'm saying, sir.
Okay.
Maybe we're having a communications problem.
Okay.
Did you ever go out to eat with the plaintiff?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Mr. Flores, you don't think that you're smarter than I am, do you?
No, ma'am.
Shh. You're not. So that when I ask you a question, you would do well to answer the question directly, truthfully the first time, so that you and I don't have to do a dance around the truth. Do I make myself clear?
Correct.
How many times were you and the plaintiff out for dinner?
Like two,
Look up!
2 or 3 times.
Okay. And of the 2 or 3 times, according to you, the one place that you never went was Chili's.
Exactly.
Where did you go when you went out for dinner?
Jackie D's.
Do you remember the days that you went to Jackie D's?
Exactly. 19th.
That was the last time, sir.
That was
before
the last time. And before that, I went out with her to another place. I can't recall the name of it.
And do you remember about what time you got home?
Yeah, I believe I got home like around like 12:30 or 1 o'clock.
Now, at the time, Mr. Flores, you were living with whom?
My wife.
Where did you tell your wife you were on those evenings, Mr. Flores?
I told her I was out in a. I told her I was out in a business.
You told your wife you were out on business?
Yes, with the lady I was working on.
No, Mr. Listen to me, sir.
Okay.
Your wife is not an idiot, is she?
No, believe me, she's not.
Right. So when you were out until 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning, you wouldn't have told your wife that you were out with a lady discussing cleaning the mold out of her bathroom, right? So you told your wife that you were out on business, correct?
Yes.
And that was a lie. Is not an answer, Mr. Flores.
No, it wasn't a lie. She had called me the same day to meet her in Jackie D's so we could discuss about the payment of pay me for the job I did at her
How
house.
long did that take, Mr. Flores?
That took us at least an hour or two. We had a couple of drinks. We sat down, and next thing you know, it was like around 12:30, 1 o'clock. We got into an argument. She left me there. I had to call my brother to pick me up, and that was it.
Well, just a second. Why was that? How did you get there?
She picked me up.
Picked you up from where?
She picked me up from the well, the wishing well.
What's the
That's
wishing
the
well?
neighborhood bar where I met her in the beginning.
So she picked you up at one bar and you went someplace else
Yes.
to discuss it?
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you discuss the payment at the wishing well, sir?
Because she didn't want to stay there.
Miss
And
Flores,
that was it.
is that you?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
understand that he's full of baloney, don't you? Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. I just want to make sure that we understand each other.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Cynthia Zane says ex-boyfriend George Flores owes for the return of money she paid him to work on her home. Cynthia says George lied about being divorced.
Now, so you advanced him in total $3,000.
Yes.
And he only performed part of the work.
Right.
And after the romance was over,
After he
recording-
did the first... Oh, no. This went on until August 22nd. August 22nd was the last time I seen George.
Well, tell me about August 22nd.
August 22nd, we went to Jackie D's, and that's when we got in the argument because I confronted him. He knew that I was on the case about him being married. He kept denying it over and over, and I just didn't buy it. And that was that. I just didn't want anything to do with him after that.
Well, how did you find out he was married?
I got a tip from somebody, and then I went to the records in Pasco County, and I got his address, and it says George W. Flores and Letitia Flores, and it gave the address. So that's how I knew how to serve him the papers.
Okay. Now, tell me about the harassment.
The harassment?
Yeah.
Basically, the harassment didn't start. I have call logs. I shared a phone with him, with Sprint. He had, shared minutes. I gave him my phone.
You gave him a phone?
Right.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, it is.
Why would she give you a phone?
To keep in contact with her, to finish up on a job.
This many times a day highlighted.
That's right, because I had no phone for her to get in contact with me whatsoever.
You were living home with your wife.
Yes, I was.
Why couldn't she call you at home if this was a business proposition?
I do not have a home phone. That's the reason why she
He
got
has
the
a home phone. It's
Just a
on here.
second. Your wife doesn't have a home phone?
No, we have a cell phone.
Well, if she had to get in touch with you, and if the only phone that you had was a cell phone, why didn't she call your wife and say, listen, I'm a client of your husband's?
Because of the fact is, she kept all the time shutting off the phone that she had bought, and the one that my wife had was always only for emergency purposes. And that's the reason she got the phone for me, because I told her I couldn't call her from my wife's phone.
What kind of work do you do?
Me, I'm on SSI, ma'am.
What's the nature of your disability, Mr. Flores?
Men and depression.
How long have you been on SSI?
10 years.
You have children, Mr. Flores?
Yes, I do.
How old are they?
My oldest is 10 years old,
Yes.
and the other one's 7, and the other one is 5.
So you're not that depressed?
Well,
Huh?
I guess not.
I guess not.
Yeah.
And I'm real interested in your counterclaim, because your counterclaim is for $3,000. Because according to you, Mr. Flores, you had a verbal contract with the plaintiff for $2,500 to do labor on her home.
Exactly.
So you're not too depressed to do labor, because you say you completed the work. Isn't that right?
Right.
So it's rather interesting. Social Security Administration is really going to be interested in the fact that somebody who suffers for 10 years from manic depression is able to do heavy manual labor in somebody's house for $2,500 in cash.
Well, it was basically...
Well, what?
Well, basically, when she hired me, it was only to clean up the house.
Is this the first time in 10 years, Mr. Flores, that
Yes.
you performed manual labor?
Yes, ma'am.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're telling me in 10 years, sir, aside from making 2 or 3 children, the only work that you've done was for the plaintiff, in the amount of $2,500 for which you were not paid. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
And it was just your bad luck that that job ended you up in court before me.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're going to get to tell that story all over again, Mr. Flores, to the Social Security Administration, because I'm going to see to it that they get the tape. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Okay. I just want to tell you this. It's very hard for me to put a dollar figure on the work that he did. Gave him $3,000. Let's say power wash the front, power wash the driveway. He cut down a tree in the front of the house. So you figure, even if he was a very high power person, he would be entitled to $1,500. You deduct that from what you paid him, which means that he owes you $1,500 because you gave him the money. I believe that you gave him the money, and I believe that he did not perform the work satisfactorily. And I do not believe that he performed the work and you didn't give him any money, which is what he says, because he's a scam artist. And he's been scamming people of the United States of America for 10 years.
He has. I know that.
Oh, you know that?
I know
that
that.
because in his spare time he goes to Mickey D's or Dickie D's or wherever he goes to drink. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500 on a claim. His counterclaim is dismissed. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
George is a scammer. I got caught up in it. 3 months later, I finally figured him out.
She needed help fixing up her house and stuff. At the time, I said, sure, why not?
He was married. He told me he was not married.
We may end up getting divorced over this, yes.
Lying all around. He's a chronic, compulsive liar.
Basically, one thing led to another. This is it. I'm here.
Administrative Assistant Michelle Simpson is suing her daughter's ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old house painter Kyle Scaife, for his share of a trip to Jamaica. Kyle says he was a guest on the vacation.
That's this case number 261 on the calendar in the matter of Simpson versus Scaife. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Simpson, you were taking a family vacation to Jamaica.
That's correct.
And at the time of this vacation, this lovely young man was your daughter's boyfriend.
That's correct.
It is your claim that you agreed to advance him the money to go on this vacation with the agreement that he would, when the vacation was over, pay you back.
That's correct.
You did take him on the vacation, paid for him.
Mm-hmm.
He and your daughter have now parted company, and he has never paid you back.
That's correct.
And Mr. Scaife says that he had a wonderful time on vacation.
Right.
But he was your guest, right?
Right.
Who was this?
This is my roommate at the time. We were invited. Her daughter lived with us. He was a witness.
Did you go on the vacation too?
No, ma'am.
Just he went.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't want to go to Jamaica?
I wanted to, but she wouldn't pay for me.
Oh, step up. Tell me your name.
Justin Runyon,
How old are you, Justin?
23.
And you were living with Kyle and...
Natalie.
Natalie.
She lived with us, actually.
So tell me, Justin, when was this trip?
I think it was like May of last year.
And Natalie told you about the trip?
Yes, ma'am. She came over to our house and was all excited and said that...
Look at me. No, look at me.
She told Kyle that he could go with them for free.
She did?
Yes, ma'am.
She said, oh, you can come with us and you can come for free.
Yes, ma'am.
And didn't you say, can't I go for free too?
I joked around about it, but...
Well, tell me how you joked around about it.
Well, Natalie...
Come on, tell me what you said. You remember exactly that she said, please, I want you to come to Jamaica. You can go for free. So if you remember that so clearly, I want you to tell me what it is that she said to you and what you said to her. Think carefully.
Natalie told Kyle that he could go for free, and Kyle's like, well, are you sure about that? And she's like, even if we break up, you don't ever have to pay my mom back.
Oh. It's like I'm watching Dumb and Dumber. Huh? Right? Don't you love it?
I'm just trying to figure out which one is Jim Carrey.
Yeah, so you're right. Me too. All right, Justin. Thank you very much. You've been most enlightening. You may sit down now.
It's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's incredible.
Wonderful. It's just wonderful. I don't even need a good night's sleep. Okay. Now, Kyle.
Yes, ma'am.
Last year, what were you doing to support yourself?
I was a bartender.
Were you working full-time?
Yes, ma'am.
So, get good tips? Nice-looking guy like you?
Sometimes tips were great. Sometimes we weren't so busy.
Well, you managed to support yourself, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Are you still working as a bartender?
No, ma'am.
What are you doing now?
I paint houses.
Got a girlfriend?
No, ma'am.
What happened with Natalie?
It just didn't work out.
She's a nice girl, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Come on, Natalie.
Thank you. Been wanting to play too.
You want to play too? No, I usually have all the fun. Natalie.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever tell Kyle in Justin's presence? Let's see if I can repeat that exactly. I want you to listen to me carefully, Justin, to make sure that I'm going to repeat it pretty much as you told me. That you wanted to take Kyle on a trip to Jamaica for free. He doesn't have to pay for anything. And even if you break up, he doesn't have to pay your mother back. That's what you told me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
No, ma'am, I did not.
Tell me about the trip to Jamaica, Natalie.
We had a great time.
Good.
Originally, my mother and myself and her best friend were scheduled to go on a trip. Kyle and I got a little serious, and he hinted around a lot. He would have liked to go. I didn't really mind that Kyle went. I mean, I was actually looking forward to him being there. I knew he did not have that kind of money, and neither did I, honestly. So when I ran it past Mom, I said, Mom, Kyle's kind of after me. He really kind of wants to go. You know, is there something we can do, whatever? And Mom said, can he borrow the money from his parents? Kyle said, no, that's not an option. Mom said, well, I can give him a loan. And at that time, we were expecting Kyle to get a settlement from an car accident that he had been in. And everything we did revolved around that settlement. Utility bills, cell phones, anything. He kept going back to that.
So he kept hoping to get this settlement check.
Yes, ma'am, he did. And in addition, when you asked him what happened with Natalie, you should ask him about his financial priorities and where his responsibilities are.
Well, why don't you tell me?
They're nowhere. They're video games, predominantly. Kyle was in between jobs most of the time. After his car accident, I actually paid his bills in he and Justin's home.
What kind of car accident were you in, Kyle?
I was rear-ended at a stoplight.
Were you the driver of the car?
Yes.
So you sued the car that hit you?
Just for medical bills and everything like that.
Kyle, did you sue through an attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
An attorney doesn't sue just for medical bills, Kyle. Attorney sues for pain and suffering, for your injuries, and to reimburse the company that paid your medical bills, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever get a settlement?
It's in litigation.
Look at me!
It's in litigation right now.
So you haven't gotten the settlement yet?
No, ma'am.
So what you were doing is really you were counting your chickens before they were hatched?
No, ma'am.
Ah, okay. So what kind of an arrangement, Natalie, did you make with Kyle for the trip?
Originally, I said, my mother will pay for you to go on the trip. However, we need to pay her $50 to $100 a month until you receive that settlement, assuming that it was going to be within the duration of the relationship, which I quickly realized that that wasn't going to be the case.
All right, Kyle.
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you give Miss Simpson towards the trip?
Nothing. As far as I knew, it was a gift.
Listen to me. Just answer my question. How much did you give her?
I haven't given anything.
Well, see, that is confusing to me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Shel Simpson and her daughter, Natalie Ballard, say Natalie's ex-boyfriend, Kyle Scaife, owes for his share of a trip to Jamaica.
Now, what do you do for a living?
I'm an administrative assistant.
You have a household?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Who lives in your household?
Right now, myself and my youngest daughter.
And are you the sole support of yourself and your youngest daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
How much do you earn a year?
Approximately $38,000.
Okay. Now, how much were you making last year?
Under $20,000 a year.
So you made a little more than half of what the plaintiff made, is that right?
Probably.
Right. And you only had to support...
myself and her daughter.
You were supporting her daughter?
Well, we were doing it together.
Just a second. You were supporting her daughter?
We were doing it together, actually. It wasn't. No. I wasn't paying everything. We were both paying everything together.
So you were supporting...
myself.
Right. then why would you think that this lady who's running a household, taking care of a minor child, why do you think that she would decide to blow you to a $1,000 vacation?
I was actually shocked. You know, actually, I never asked.
I'm shocked too. I want to tell you something, Kyle. It's shocking to me. Shocking. Because her daughter would have gone without you.
I'm sure
In
she
a
would.
flash.
Yes, ma'am.
In a flash, she would have gone without you for a week, gotten a nice tan, come back, shown you pictures, and said, I had a great old time.
Yes, ma'am. Probably.
You don't want to be a bum, do you, Kyle?
I wasn't. I never asked.
No, you don't. Listen to me. You don't want to be a bum, do you?
No, ma'am.
You don't want to take things that should really be better spent on a child
Of course not.
for you to go on a vacation, do you?
Well, I was invited to go on a vacation, and it sounded like a good idea.
I don't believe that, sir.
Well, that's the way it happened.
I don't believe that, sir. I believe that she advanced the money, and I believe she gave you a lot of latitude to pay it off because, you know, you were expecting some windfall from some bogus accident that hasn't come through yet. And you, like any other 21-year-old, are living in a fantasy world that you're going to turn out to be a millionaire because somebody rear-ended you, even though you're not injured. He's going to be sorry he came here. When you went on this trip to Jamaica, did you participate in water sports?
No, ma'am.
Did he participate
Yes,
in water
ma'am.
sports? Sure he did. Sure he did. Did you go swimming?
Yes, ma'am.
What other water sports did
I
he
have
participate
him
in?
climbing a palm tree.
Oh,
We
let me
jumped on a
see.
banana
Oh,
boat.
I want to see. The insurance company that's handling his lawsuit with his lawyers that's been pending for ages is certainly going to want to see these pictures, but I want to take a look at them first. Does this look like a healthy man to you?
Yeah, pretty healthy.
Oh, look at him climbing up the tree. Yes. Look at him climbing up that tree. Picking up his girlfriend. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Oh, well, not only will you probably not get this money from your car accident and the substantial injuries that you alleged in your complaint, but you owe her $916. Judgment for the plaintiff. Step out.
Parties are excused. Let me step out.
I think somebody finally taught him a lesson.
Regardless, win or lose, at least I'm glad this is over with.
I know Kyle better than anyone else, and no one can make him do anything he doesn't want to do but Judge Judy.
I'm just tired of messing with them. I'm sure they're tired of me. I just soon move on.
I did speak with Kyle several times.
Nothing was ever said about it until the relationship was over.
He did say that he would reimburse me the money once he got his settlement.
I'm sure they want the money, especially since the relationship didn't work out.
Oh, I'm thrilled. Justice has prevailed.
Cold-hearted people.
And I think we need to go back to Jamaica real soon.
Now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Avila versus Young. Step forward, please.
22-year-old homemaker Crystal Avila is suing her ex-boyfriend, 19-year-old construction worker Justin Young, for the cost of a broken windshield. Justin claims the window was broken by Crystal's 4-year-old daughter.
Let's see.
Miss Avila, this is your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
She's 4?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Young used to be your boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you, Mr. Young?
19.
19.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
22.
He's not your boyfriend anymore?
No, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you went into the grocery store and left Mr. Young in the car with your daughter,
Yes,
just the
ma'am.
two of them. And while you were in the grocery store, the windshield of your car got broken.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was done by people inside the car.
Yes, that's what I heard
Just
at
a
first.
second. Just a second.
Okay.
By people inside the car, which was either Mr. Young or your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
You want Mr. Young to pay for the windshield.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Young says he's not going to pay for the windshield because your daughter broke the windshield.
Or she helped.
Or she helped. So, Mr. Young, I have a few questions for you. Were you the passenger in this car?
Yes, ma'am.
And Miss Avila stopped at the grocery store to run in for a minute?
Yes, ma'am.
And she asked you to watch, what's this little girl's name?
Jackie.
She asked you to watch Jackie while she ran in to get what in the grocery store?
Just a couple.
What was she going to get?
Check.
Cash a check. I was getting
Oh,
my
cash a
things.
check.
Yeah.
Smart girl. Now, you want to tell me how the windshield got broken while she wasn't in the car and you were babysitting?
Jackie got out of the car and got on the hood. It was,
She got out of the car.
yes, ma'am.
Were you in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
She overpowered you?
No, ma'am.
I just want to try to understand that. She got out of the car. She overpowered you and got out of the car. And then what happened?
I let her get out of the car.
What?
I let her get out of the car.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And get on the hood.
And she managed to get up on the hood by herself, or did you put her on the hood?
She got there by herself.
How did she do that? She's a little teeny girl.
She crawled up there.
She went on the front bumper first?
Yes, ma'am.
She got herself on the front bumper first, and then she crawled up on the hood of the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And where were you when she was doing this?
I was inside the car.
What were you doing inside the car?
Just waiting.
After she overpowered you and got out of the car and managed to get up on the bumper, crawl up the hood of the car, and she's on the windshield, and you were inside the car waiting.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Young, weren't you worried that something would happen to Jackie?
I was watching her. No, ma'am.
You were watching her crawl up on the hood of the car.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do for a living?
I'm in construction.
What do you do in construction?
Asphalt.
You don't have children, do you?
No, ma'am.
How much did the windshield cost to have fixed?
The first estimate I got was $316.
You still didn't tell me, Mr. Young, how the windshield got broken.
She was kicking it?
When she started kicking it, did you tell her to stop?
Yes, ma'am.
You were inside the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you yell outside the window?
No, ma'am. I hit the window back, trying to get her attention until it stopped.
So you hit the window to tell her to stop?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that how the window broke?
Yes, ma'am.
Her kicking it and you punching it to tell her to stop?
Yes, ma'am. I wasn't punching it, I was tapping.
Tapping it?
Yes, ma'am.
You still don't think this is your fault?
No, ma'am.
Hello? Mayor, hello? You don't let a 4-year-old outside of a car unattended, because I really don't believe that she overpowered you and got out of the car.
Yes.
And then if you see her jumping up on the bumper, according to you, and then crawling on the hood of the car to the windshield, a normal, semi-intelligent person would have hopped out of the car and because they would have been afraid for the child's safety. Mr. Young.
Yes.
So now you're going to tell me, whose fault was this?
It's my fault for that now?
Yes! Yes! Just stop there. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $316. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I trusted him to watch her.
Maybe I should have.
Evidently he wasn't.
Watch the child a little bit.
My windshield got broke.
He punched it 3 times.
It's probably about 3 times.
It's done and over.
That's case number 242 on the calendar in the matter of Hales, Stevens versus Gutierrez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mr. Stevens, Ms. Gutierrez and you used to be an item. You were boyfriend and girlfriend for a while, is that right?
That is correct.
And you are currently attached to Ms. Hale.
I'm currently seeing Ms. Hale, that is correct.
According to the complaint that I have, the two of you say that Ms. Gutierrez did not accept the breakup well, and she has embarked upon a course of conduct that is harassment. She's vandalized your property. She's repeatedly written notes, spray painted your car, spray painted your house, and you want her to stop this harassment. You have a series of police reports, 7 or 8 of them, over a period of several months. You want $4,000 in damages. Ms. Gutierrez says there is no way that she's responsible for any of the damage that you claim. As a matter of fact, she can prove that to me because she was hospitalized and she had just undergone some major surgery at a time when you claim she was running around spray painting your house. And she is counterclaiming because she says because of your complaints about her to the police, she lost her job. How long were you and Ms. Gutierrez together?
Approximately 26 months.
Did you live together?
No, ma'am.
And when did you stop seeing each other?
We formally broke it off December of 2003 while she was in hospital in January and February. I visited her. It was a life-threatening surgery. During that time, I was very explicit that I didn't want to maintain a relationship as a boyfriend-girlfriend.
You mean right after her surgery?
Correct.
That was in 04, January and February of 04.
Yes.
Okay.
The last time I actually spoke to her about the relationship was probably the earliest part of June.
Well, between January and February and the early part of June, were you together? Did you see each other?
We went on a camping trip in May as friends.
How do you go on a camping trip
Well,
with
we were
somebody?
going to try the experience.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you go with somebody on a camping trip in May that you told you don't want a relationship with several months before, and then tell me you went as friends?
The reason was I don't believe that that's usually a healthy thing, but I thought that she would be mature about it.
Be mature about what?
To be able to be a friend after you've been in a deep relationship with someone, and to handle it as friends.
So you decided to handle it as friends by going away on a camping trip together. Now, let me ask you about this camping trip. How many people went on the camping trip?
It was just the two of us.
And did you have one tent or two?
We had one tent.
And did you share that tent, or did you sleep on the sofa?
No, we shared the tent.
Were you intimate during the course of this camping trip?
No, ma'am, we were not.
Is that true?
That's correct. It's kind of hard to do anything in a tent.
Where there's a will, there's a way. So what happened during this trip in May?
Well, we talked about a lot of things. I told her she still had feelings for me and voiced that to me, and I told her that I didn't want to continue, that I wanted to start seeing other people, and I encouraged her to do the same.
How long was this camping trip?
It was just a weekend.
When did you have this conversation with her, on Friday or Sunday?
In regard to...
Not wanting to have a relationship with her anymore.
Well, it had been sort of ongoing. I can't recall it like a specific time.
Your Honor, we never talked about it. We went out and had a good time. The following weekend was Memorial Weekend. I spent the entire holiday weekend with them.
That sound right, sir?
I only recall the camping trip.
Well, let's try to recall the following weekend. She said she spent the entire weekend with you.
I know that what I do...
She's going to be able to prove everything that she says. I want you to trust me, so I want you to think hard. We're not talking about so long ago, sir. You went camping. She says the following weekend was Memorial Weekend, and you spent the entire weekend with him. Is that right? Where?
At his home.
At his home?
Yes.
Not in your home?
Friday through Monday.
You didn't have a tent there where it was difficult?
We slept in the same bed, Your Honor.
Think hard.
I am, Your Honor. I do not recall that. I'm being completely brutally honest with you, Your
Okay,
Honor.
well, if you don't recall it, she does.
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, so what happened at the end of that Memorial Day weekend, Ms. Gutierrez?
We just had a good weekend. We made a nice steak dinner that night. Always ate underneath his hut. He's got a beautiful yard.
Well, when did he tell you that it was over?
We never talked about it.
How did you find out it was over?
On June 2nd, he was supposed to go with me to a Japanese dinner with a friend of mine, and he backed out. After dinner, I went to the club looking for him.
What club?
It's the Texas Tux.
Is that where he works?
That's where he picks up his women.
Did you find him?
No, ma'am.
When did you speak to him, if at all, for him to tell you that it was over?
A week and a half after he met Annette on June 5th. He was seeing her, but I didn't know anything about it until a week and a half later.
Miss Hale, when did you meet Mr. Stevens?
June 12th.
6/12.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you meet him?
I met him at the Tux with some friends.
At the Texas Tux?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were immediately attracted to him?
We got along well. Great conversation. Over the next few weeks, we would meet for a drink or dinner or, and that was it.
Did he tell you that he had been in a long-term relationship?
Sure did.
What did he tell you about it?
He had been broke up with her since December 14th.
Okay, that's what he told you? Mm-hmm. That he had been out of the relationship for at least 6 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you now know that that's not true.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know that before today?
No, ma'am.
We're getting on with this because I want you to hear this, Miss Hale. Before you put all your eggs in his basket, I want you to understand what you're dealing with.
Okay.
Bad enough that one lady got snookered. You don't want that to happen twice.
Mm-hmm.
And you will.
Shh.
Sorry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. John Stevens and his girlfriend Annette Hale claim John's ex-girlfriend Janie Gutierrez has been spray painting obscenities on Annette's car.
Now, Mr. Stevens, Ms. Hale tells me that you told her that you were in a long-term relationship which terminated in December.
That's when it formally terminated. That's when we had
That's not what you told me 2 minutes ago, sir.
No, but I'm just saying, what happened, that was a formal end of the romantic relationship. I did have a continued relationship, but it was not a romantic one with Miss Gutierrez.
Well, maybe you weren't romantic, sir. Did you tell Miss Hale that you had been on a camping trip with her?
I told Miss Hale about a lot of...
Did you tell her you had been on a camping trip with her 2 weeks before?
I don't recall if I told her about the camping
trip.
Well,
let's see. Did he tell you about the camping trip?
Yes, ma'am, but I was not aware they were alone. I was aware that there were a lot of people.
Oh, well, tell me about what he told you about the camping trip.
I thought they had gone with friends on a camping trip, and that it was strictly friendly, and that was it. And she couldn't accept that, and so he told her they couldn't be friends. That's what I was told. Yes.
There isn't a question in my mind, Miss Hale, that on Memorial Day weekend, they spent the weekend together. Because she remembers it down to what they had for dinner, and he just doesn't remember. Exactly. Just doesn't remember that. Could have happened, but he doesn't remember it.
Right.
Okay. Now, Miss Hale, I'd like you to tell me what kind of vandalism you suffered and when.
Okay. The first one started on June 25th. I have police report.
Can I see it, please?
Pictures.
Was there a word written here? I can't tell what it says.
It starts, but it just never gets to that last letter.
Okay. Well, this happened June 25th. What proof do you have that Miss Gutierrez caused this damage to your car?
Well, I have 2 other police reports. The painting happened 2 other times to my car. I have pictures of it also. And the fact that on July 31st, we were trying to wait up and watch for her since it was becoming every week. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, the dog started going crazy, and she was out in the driveway with a can of spray paint.
But, Your Honor, she neglected to tell you that I got a prank joke from the police officer at 3:30 in the morning. They said that they had a witness for me spray painting the garage in her car, and they told me if I didn't come to the scene and bring my spray paint to the scene, if I had any spray paint, to bring it, otherwise they would arrest me. He made the prank call. So I came up there with the can of spray paint that was never used at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Did you call her?
No, ma'am.
That doesn't sound right to me, Miss Gutierrez.
It is, Judge Judy. They woke me up at 3:30 in the
Where did you
morning.
get a can of spray paint?
I bought 3 cans 6 years ago. It took 2 cans to spray one of my piece of furniture.
What color?
It was a burgundy.
Miss Gutierrez.
But the 3rd paint can I never used. I used both of them on the piece of furniture 6 years ago.
What color was the...
The 3rd time was burgundy.
Can I see it?
And the same night, 25 miles away, she painted his garage burgundy. And we have pictures.
Oh, yeah. Pictures of my garage.
The gold paint was the 2nd time. That was the 3rd with the burgundy on his garage.
What date was this?
That one was July the 16th, the burgundy paint.
Now, Ms. Gutierrez, according to your answer, you say that it was impossible for you to have done this on the 16th of July because you had either just had surgery or you were recuperating from major surgery. What kind of surgery?
I broke my neck in January. I was paralyzed.
Until when?
I just got the machine off the back of my neck last week, and also my PICC line that I've had since January.
Well, that didn't prevent you from getting around in July.
You
were not bedridden in July.
I was on a machine, and I had home care come 3 times a week.
That doesn't make any sense.
I was restricted to
You're not
work and
answering
back
my
home.
question. Were you mobile during the month of July?
Yes, ma'am.
Of course, because at some point in July, you went over to the house at 4 o'clock in the morning, right?
When I got the phone call.
When you got the phone call, you were able to get up out of your house and go over to his house with a can of spray paint. So you were, in fact, mobile. So there was nothing physiologically wrong with you that precluded you from getting into a car and traveling, unless somebody drove you there. Did somebody drive you there?
No, ma'am.
You drove yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Gutierrez, I would have been very angry with him, too.
But not enough for me to spray paint, Your Honor. I'm not violent.
That's not being violent. Not violent. It's being vindictive. It's a criminal act. It's not per se a violent act. But I don't see why you would want to spray paint her car. She got snookered in by this guy.
I have nothing against her, Your Honor.
Of course not. You shouldn't. The only thing that you both suffer from is from terrible judgment. You understand that the lady standing next to you has certain questions to ask you about what kind of character you have after today.
Well, ma'am, I'm an Eagle Scout, and I try to be as forthright honest with her about a lot of these issues.
He never was honest with me. I found that out just recently.
He's an Eagle Scout.
Doesn't mean I'm perfect.
They're going to take your badges away from you, Mr. Stevens. How much did it cost you to clean up your car?
Well, we kept using different methods to get the paint off, but I've got estimates. It's practically down to the metal because 3 times getting paint off, it takes it away. So I've got 2 estimates and an estimate from Hertz on renting a car while it's getting fixed.
Did you get the paint off your garage door, Mr. Stevens?
Yes, ma'am, I did. I used some chemicals, but it's left it down to taking the top coating off.
So I think you ought to get a can of paint. And while you're painting, I think you should keep repeating to yourself, I cannot tell a lie, I will always tell the truth. I am an Eagle Scout. See what kind of trouble you cause when you're not honest with people?
Ma'am, I'll try to be honest throughout this ordeal.
No. Let me explain something to you, Mr. Stevens. If you told this lady back in January and February that you were no longer interested in a relationship with her, and she could not accept that, that would have been her problem. But if you were waffling around until you found something better and took her away on a camping trip, and then the following weekend either shared her bed or allowed her to share yours, with a view towards perhaps I have nothing better to do this weekend. That means that what you are doing is you are playing fast and loose with somebody else's emotions. And that, sir, is very cruel. And then when you meet this lady, you give her a whole bunch of junk, painting a picture to her that is not accurate. Because I'm sure that when she was suffering this damage to her car, you were telling her, I don't know what's wrong with her. I broke up with her in December. That's 7 months ago. She just can't accept it. She didn't know that you were leading her on over the course of the next 6 or 7 months, up until a couple of months before this happened. She didn't know that. That's not being honest, sir. And sometimes damage comes from not being honest. So I suggest you go out there and get yourself a can of paint, put on some jeans, and paint your garage doors. You get $1,400 to paint your car. Judgment for the plaintiff, and your counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. Let's step out.
Obviously, there's a relationship that broke apart and someone couldn't let go.
It destroyed me because my plans were to marry him.
I don't think I got the whole truth from either one of them.
Sort of painted me today like I was very untruthful and not upfront and honest.
He lied not only to me, but his new girlfriend.
I feel like I'm a victim in this.
My advice to her is she needs to check out someone's history thoroughly before jumping in bed with them.
I shouldn't have to live in fear where someone's going to come by, destroy my property, and come over at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I hope this is the end of it.
Utico versus Corona. Step forward.
Accountant Michelle Utico is suing her ex-boyfriend, plumber Stephen Corona, for ramming her Toyota 4Runner with his truck. Stephen claims Michelle is making up a story.
Miss Utico, this gentleman used to be your boyfriend, and according to your complaint, he got angry with you one evening and he intentionally damaged your truck. And Mr. Corona says that while he was angry that evening, he didn't do anything to your car, right?
That's correct.
Tell me when Mr. Corona damaged your car.
That evening, after I dropped him off at home.
What evening?
May 21st a.m., May 20th, midnight.
And where had you been?
We were first at my house, and we got into an argument, and then I dropped him off at his house.
What did you get into an argument about?
Just general things, what couples normally get in arguments about.
I usually get into an argument with my husband about how many pairs of shoes I bring home.
Okay.
So what were you arguing about?
You know, I don't recall what the argument was about, but we got into one, and I dropped him off at home like he wanted to go. He wanted to leave, so I took him home.
What time?
It's probably about 10 or 11 at night.
And where did you go when you dropped him off?
I went over to his house.
What's his name?
This is my friend Frank. And I was there with a couple of friends. We were sitting on the front porch, and then that's when he showed up.
And Mr. Corona, you acknowledged that you came looking for her.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what happened when he came looking for you?
Well, he had asked for me to get into my truck and go home, so let's go home.
When he told you to get into your truck and let's go home, was he in his car or out of his car?
He was out of his car at the time. He parked next to my car on the street, and he got off of his car and pretty much demanding for me to leave. And with the look in his eyes pretty much looked violent, and I did not want to go, so I didn't.
He told you to get in the car and go home?
Yeah.
And what did you say to him?
Well, I was going to go. But then I turned around and I said, no, I'm not going.
What did you say to him?
I didn't say anything to him.
When he said get in the car, did you tell him okay?
Yeah, I said okay. Yeah,
well, that's what I'm asking you. That's what I'm asking. It's not a hard question. Okay. I'm just trying to follow the events. What happened starting from once upon a time and ending with the end. So he got out of his car and he said, get in the car, I want you to go home. He says he acknowledges he said that to you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said okay.
Right.
And he says that that's what you said. You said you would follow him, right?
She said she was going to go home to meet her there.
But then you decided not to go home.
Yes, I decided not to go home.
So you turned around and you said to your friend,
right?
Frank.
Correct.
Frank, could you sit up, please? Sit up. Good. Thank you, Frank. You said to Frank and his friends, I'm not going with him.
That's correct.
And you went back to the porch.
Right.
So far, your stories are exactly the same. But here's where we come to a fork in the road.
Right.
What happened next, Miss Utico?
Well, he got upset. He got into his car, and he wrecked into my car, which was not good enough for him, so he sped off and made a U-turn and came back around and wrecked even more into my car. And then
what do you mean wrecked? I don't know.
He wrecked his car into my car.
You mean he hit his car into your truck?
Yes, he hit his car into mine. So.
And he did that twice?
He did it twice.
Mr. Corona?
Yes, ma'am.
I've read your answer, and you flatly deny that this is the way it happened. So I have a few questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Corona.
Yes.
What did you have an argument with Miss Utico about that evening?
We were arguing about her staying home and her wanting to go out, and I was trying to get her to stay home, but she insisted on leaving. She told me that she had to get up to go to work in the morning. That's why she wanted to drop me off, because usually I stay the night there. And it was kind of odd that she wanted me to go home, because she actually picked me up, and usually I drive over there, but she picked me up earlier, and then she dropped me off. You know, she insisted on dropping me off.
I don't... Excuse me, ma'am.
So, you cared about her a lot.
Sure. Very much so.
You the jealous type?
No, but
A little bit?
Sure, isn't everybody?
I don't know. Depends upon if you've got something to be jealous about. So let me understand this, Mr. Corona. Your girlfriend tells you she's got to get up early in the morning and she drives you home.
That's what she said.
You've got something in the back of your head that says, what's your first name?
Steve.
Steve, something's not kosher here. Because I usually spend the night, so I'm going to get into my car and go and look for her. Right? That's what you did.
Exactly.
And you're driving around, and something said, why don't you go over to old Frank's house?
Mm-hmm.
So you had the feeling maybe she was over there fooling around with Frank, right?
Possibly.
Well, you were going to give it a look-see anyway, right?
Sure.
I mean, is that what happened? Sure, that's where your car ended up.
Sure.
And then, sure enough, your girlfriend of a year and a half who had to get up early to go out to do something the next day, there she was, sitting, chilling with Frank on the porch. And you double parked your car next to hers.
Exactly next to hers on the side. Parallel.
And you got out of the car and you said, I want you to get into the car and come home with me. Right?
And she said
and
yes.
She said
yes.
Yes.
She said, I'm going to follow you. I'll meet you
I'm
at
going
my
to follow
house.
you home. I'm going to meet you home. And then she didn't.
That's right.
And then, according to your answer, you went home and went to sleep.
That's right.
That's wrong.
First, before I went home, I went to her house and I waited in the front for her at her house.
Just a second. So you actually followed her direction and you went home.
Yeah. No.
How long did you sit in your car in front of her house waiting for her?
About 20 minutes.
Till he broke into my house.
Don't speak. 20 minutes?
About 20 minutes.
20 minutes. And while you were waiting this 20 minutes, did you start to get upset?
No. You started
to get, just a second, you started to get, if you weren't upset, did you start to get hungry?
I was.
Shh. Did you start to get hungry? Tired?
Yeah, tired, yes.
So you were tired?
Yes, I was
tired. And you
tired.
said, forget it.
Exactly.
She made a fool out of me.
I'm done with it.
I'm finished with her.
That's right.
She made a real fool out of me this time because she made a fool out of me earlier in the evening when she drove me home.
Mm-hmm.
And she was maybe going to have somebody else come and stay over, but it wasn't going to be me that night. And now I went over there and made a fool out of myself in front of other people. And she made a bigger fool out of me, so you went home and went to sleep.
I threw in the towel.
Could I see the pictures of the car, please? You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. Well, you made the report the very next day.
Right.
What happened? Did they ever come to see you, Mr. Corona? The police?
No, ma'am.
They never came to see you?
No, ma'am.
You live in Los Angeles?
Yes.
They're probably real busy. Mr. Corona, I'm going to ask a question, but you don't even have to answer, Mr. Corona. I want you to look at my face. It's a nice face, right? You wouldn't lie to this face, Mr. Corona, would you? So I don't even want you to answer me, sir. Did it feel good? Did it feel good? It's going to cost you $2,284.56. I hope it felt that good. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Up versus Rodriguez. Step forward, please.
Web coordinator Debbie Up is suing her former co-worker, computer consultant Thomas Rodriguez, for unpaid rent and a loan to buy a computer. Thomas claims Debbie gave him the computer as a gift.
Miss Up, Mr. Rodriguez was a friend of yours. You allowed him to move into your house for a short period of time. You claimed that he owes you for a month's rent.
Correct.
And in addition, you advanced him on your credit money to buy a computer.
Correct.
According to you, he agreed to make the payments to the company. He made a couple, but when he left, he stopped making the payments, and you want those payments.
Correct.
Mr. Rodriguez says that the computer was very lovely, but it was, in fact, a gift from you. And second, he says that he doesn't owe you any money for rent. He was out of your home, and you had agreed to allow him to store some stuff there until he could get it out, but he doesn't owe you for the month, I think it was July. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Why did you move into Miss Up's home, sir?
Well, at the time, I didn't have a place to stay, so
Why didn't you have a place to stay?
Well, I had an argument with the girlfriend, and I didn't have a place to stay, and she offered me a place to live at.
How did you know her?
I know her from work. We've worked with each other before, and I've known her for about 3 years.
What kind of work?
Auto sales.
Why did you invite him to come to live in your home?
Well, we had been friends for a couple of years, and we had done a lot of stuff together, hung out together, gone to movies together, things like that.
Just the two of you?
Yeah. I knew he needed a place to live, and I had an extra bedroom, and I said, for a couple $100 a month, you can rent my room in my house.
Did he give you any money towards rent while he lived there?
Yes, he did. He moved in the end of November, actually Thanksgiving weekend. He paid me for the month of December mid-month. I had agreed that he could pay me mid-month instead of being strapped at the end of the month.
Fine. So he paid you for December, January, February, March, April, May, and June?
And June.
What happened in June?
In June, as he said, he had gotten back together with a girlfriend. He ended up not spending a lot of time at home while they were renewing their relationship. So he spent many nights away, still had a key, still had a garage door opener, came and went as he pleased. And
still had clothes there?
Still had clothes there. He had...
This was the month of June or July?
Actually, both. He, I guess, renewed this relationship sometime in mid-June, and throughout July they kept going and decided that was going to be... I presume that they're still in a relationship. I have no idea.
Good. When did you get your last bit of stuff out of the house, sir?
End of June, early July.
Well, you have to pay for July if you still had stuff there in July, sir.
Well, I had already previously paid her for that month already in the middle of June. Like on June 21st was the last time I paid her for the rent.
Did you stay there at all in July?
No, I wasn't there at all in July.
Yes, he did. He, like I said, he came and went as he pleased in June, and in July, in fact, he spent July 4th weekend at home because I guess his girlfriend was out of town.
Does that sound familiar?
No, actually, July, I wasn't there at all.
July 4th weekend she's talking about, sir.
July, I was there to pick up my personal items.
Okay. All right, let's get to the computer, which is really what we're talking about, because the rent is $200. Let's get to the computer. When did he buy the computer?
In May, I had agreed that he could use my credit with the conditions that he would make the monthly payments, but he had also said that he would try to pay it off as soon as possible because he doesn't like to have debt. The computer arrived, he made the June payment of $103, he made the July payment.
What did he make the June payment to?
Actually, he paid me and then I paid the company.
Gave you in cash?
Check.
You have a copy of the check, sir?
No, I don't have a copy of the check.
Why not?
I didn't realize I would need it.
Copy of your check register, sir?
No, actually, I don't have that with me.
Why don't you have it with you?
I wasn't aware that I would actually need it.
Of course you need it. Where did you think you were coming? Why would she, Mr. Rodriguez, buy you a computer worth thousands of dollars?
She said it was a gift. She said that...
Mr. Rodriguez, why don't you listen to my words? Why would she buy you a gift worth thousands of dollars?
Because she had feelings for me.
And you had no feelings for her?
No, I told her...
The answer is either yes or no. Is that right?
Yes.
So you had no feelings for her in any other way other than a friend. So why would you encourage her feelings for you by accepting a gift worth thousands of dollars?
I figured, I thought about it, and I figured I wouldn't look good, a gift horse in the mouth, and I figured, I would take it.
Oh, dear.
Do you honestly, Mr. Rodriguez, believe that this lady finds you attractive?
Actually, what happened was, about a month in June, she actually told me...
She's an intelligent, appears to be at least an intelligent, working woman. Why would she spend thousands of dollars on you when you can't even afford a decent place to live?
Well, that wasn't the case. The thing was I was just trying to avoid getting into a lease.
Just a second. You mean you could afford a decent place to live?
Yes.
You have children, Mr. Rodriguez?
I have a daughter.
How old?
13.
Do you support her?
Yes.
How much do you send?
$285.23 every 2 weeks, so about $600.
Do they take that money out of your pay, sir?
Yes, I have taken out my check each month.
No, they take it out of your pay. Because there was probably a time when you weren't paying regular child support, so they decided to take it out of your pay, correct?
Well, I would make payments arrangements with her mom.
Listen to what I'm saying, Mr. Rodriguez. I'm 10 steps ahead of you, sir. You weren't making regular child support payments, so they decided to do it by income deduction order and taking it out of your pay. Does that sound right?
Well, no, I've always paid her mom, for whatever she needed.
You mean diapers for your teenage daughter and things like that? Diapers, Pampers, formula, that kind of thing?
Clothes, whatever she needed. Even, purchased her mom a car when she didn't have no transportation.
Let me see the bill for the computer.
This
I hate
is the
people
original.
who use other people, Mr. Rodriguez, especially those people who rely on the fact that they think somebody, I'm speaking, that they think somebody is lonesome, and because they're lonesome and they need company, they're prepared to pay for that company, which is clearly what you thought, which I think is probably one of the most amoral things one person can do to another. We understand each other, Mr. Rodriguez?
No, like a...
Do we understand me? That doesn't mean that you will like what I said. I want to know if you understand what I said.
I hear what you're saying.
You're going to eat the rent. But you're going to get your $2,900 for your computer. Original price of the computer was $3,152. According to you, we made 2 payments of $103, $104 each. More, it's $2,900. You still have the computer, sir?
Yes, I do.
Are you enjoying it?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Rodriguez, are you trying to think ahead of what would be the right answer when I'm asking you a question so that you don't again put your foot in your mouth? Is that why you're pausing?
No, I'm just listening to what you're saying.
Got it. Judgment for the plaintiff, the amount of $2,900.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I had offered several different suggestions, like him financing it through another bank, and we wouldn't have to talk to each other anymore. It seemed to be on his part that he didn't want the friendship to continue.
You would have to think, kind of twice about, saying no. But like I said, who would want to look a gift horse in the mouth?
It seemed to be on his part that he didn't want the friendship to continue.
Well, on several occasions, she's, asked me if I had feelings for her, and I told her, no, it was just, friends and nothing more.
I did ask him once just to clarify, if there was anything beyond friendship that he wanted, and once that was clarified, that was it.
Carlos Guillen is suing his former roommate, Nigel Pine, and her boyfriend, Gallo June, for property damage and stolen belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2121, GN versus Pine Jagoon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Guillen, you rented a room in a house that you were renting or that you own?
That I was renting.
It's a 3-bedroom house, and you live there with whom?
At the time, it was me and my sister, and then my cousin.
How long have you been living in that house?
I was living there previously with my sister for about 5 years, and then she moved, and then it came over to me in 2020.
So you've been living there for 7 years?
About 5 years, yeah.
When did you decide to rent a room?
She came to me around early May, saying that she was going through a situation with her previous roommate.
That would be you.
Sorry, Nigel, yeah. Sorry about that.
How did you know her?
We worked together as servers. But then she came to me on the job saying that she heard that I had a room available and that she was going through it with some of her previous roommates before. She said she needed some place to stay, so I told her that she could stay with me until she got on her feet.
Is that the conversation?
No.
Okay, so let me hear your version of the conversation.
So someone did tell me he was renting a room. I did need a room for rent. As we all know, COVID did happen, so I wasn't in my place I had stayed previously. I was moving. And so I went to him and I said, hey, I heard you had a room for rent. He's like, yeah, girl. And I'm like, yeah. So I could pay, I can move in now, basically. Because I came to him May 31st, moved in June 1st, which was the next day. And he was like, yeah, girl, just pay $800 a month. Just give me $1,000 to move in. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. I'm like, all right, for sure. It's like, it'll be month to month. And that was it. It was never like till you get back on your feet. It was never like a helping hand. I paid to move in with him.
He never said it was a helping hand.
Well, he did just state that I was going to be staying there until I got back on my feet, which was never the case. I was staying there.
But you needed a room.
Yes.
Okay. And the rent was $800 a month.
Yes.
And he asked you for $1,000 up front as security.
Yes.
And when did she move in?
She moved in on May 30th, Your Honor.
When did she pay you for June's rent?
Immediately. So the day that she moved in is when she gave me the money.
So she paid June's rent?
Yeah, she did pay June's rent, yes.
And what about July?
She paid for July's rent as well, yeah.
And what about August?
She did pay for August rent, but she does owe me for utilities. She's about 2 months backed up on utilities.
What about September?
We weren't there for September because the altercation already occurred on August 27th and 28th.
Okay, so she was there for 3 months and she paid you for 3 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Your complaint is that there was an altercation, and at some point during her tenancy, she brought in a boyfriend who's going to uncross his arms.
Yes.
Who was living with her.
Mm-hmm.
And when was that?
So she told me previously to her moving in that she did have a boyfriend and that he would be there from time to time. I allowed it. During his stay and while they were there, they were always arguing. It was like commotion, like every other night. He would punch holes in the wall. They would constantly get into fights. So what happened to how this whole thing got about, one day I had came home and I actually have the messages here.
Those are the messages you had on your phone?
Yeah, between me and her men, yeah.
Okay, may I see those?
So he was standing outside of the building. I came home around.
Just a second. I have to read them first, sir.
Yeah.
I don't understand what this is.
So I was pulling up to my house around 7 a.m. in the morning. He was outside sitting on the steps crying and smoking a blunt. He walked up to my car asking if we can have a conversation. I said, sure. He gets in my car, we're talking. He tells me that him and Nyjah just got into a fight. Nyjah kicked him out again.
He and his girlfriend got
Yeah,
into
he and his girlfriend, Nyjah, had gotten into a fight.
This was on August 27th.
Yes, August 22nd, yeah. So we had the conversation. He told me that Nyjah...
What were you doing look at me. What were you doing out at 7:30 in the morning?
So me...
No, just...
Me and Nyjah, like the night previously, we had went out together. We got in pretty late. We were out drinking. We did get into a situation, but it wasn't a situation...
I just want to know what you were doing out 7:30 in the morning. That's my question.
I was just leaving and walking to my car.
Did you have a conversation with Mr.
We had a brief 2 to 3 minute conversation.
Okay, but you had a conversation with him. Now, you had an argument with your girlfriend the night before, you just said. What kind of an argument did you have with her?
It was basically, we went out, we were trying to have a good time together. It didn't really kind of end up the night how I wanted it to go. She felt how she felt. It was never an argument of, yelling at her or like we were going at it. It was just like...
Well, you had been out drinking.
Yeah.
And when you were out drinking the night before, did you have any altercation with your girlfriend while you were out?
No.
So you had the altercation with her in the house?
Yes, in the apartment.
Okay. Now, he works nights? What were you doing?
Nights and days, yeah. I'm a server bartender, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, he wasn't home when you were having these fights with this argument with your girlfriend?
Not even an argument, but no, ma'am, he wasn't
He
home.
was not at home. And when he came home that morning, you were outside?
I was walking to my car.
He was outside on the steps crying.
I wasn't
Just a
on
second.
the steps.
Sorry.
Wasn't on the steps.
Just a second.
Didn't have a
You have to understand, I move slowly but methodically.
Got you. Sorry, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, do you work?
Yes, I do.
Where?
Security.
Security for whom?
I lied.
What time do you report to work on the 27th?
On the 27th, I went to work late because of the situation that had happened previously that day with the cops, and we have the text messages of me texting my supervisor.
What situation previously that day? He wasn't home. So what situation previously that day?
What happened previously that day was that...
Previously what day?
Earlier during the day, he had...
That was 7:30 in the morning. You hadn't seen him.
I'm having
wasn't the 27th.
That wasn't the 27th when that happened. We
the
had the
22nd.
conversation on the 26th. Early coming back, it was 7 that day because we had got into it. I didn't see her at all after me and her had our little falling out. I'm walking to my car. We have the conversation. I go home.
You went home for what?
He said that I was living with her. I was never living with her.
You were.
You went home for what at 7:30 in the morning? What did you go home for?
To sleep.
To sleep. So what you're saying is it wasn't on the 27th, it was the 26th.
This altercation that happened with me on the steps, it either was the 26th or the 25th, but this happened way prior before the day on the 27th. The 27th is the day where the first police incident happened, where there was the actual dispute over him and her. He said that she didn't pay the first month's rent, which we have in the police report.
Okay, I've already determined all the rent was paid.
Right, but he has the dates wrong because the 27th is not the day that we got into the altercation.
What was the date?
It was the 22nd.
It was the 22nd.
22nd of August, 2022.
Yeah.
And I'm off Mondays and Tuesdays, so I was off. I went home to sleep after I left the apartment.
So on the 22nd, Your Honor.
On the 22?
Yeah, on 22, which is a Monday morning at 7:30, I pulled into my garage. He was outside crying.
So it wasn't on the 27th?
No, it was on the 22nd, yeah. 22nd in the morning, yes, ma'am. It was 7:30 in the morning. He's sitting there crying. I come in. He asks, can he come in my car to talk to me? We talk. He tells me that him and Nyjah got into another altercation. She hits him. He stops her from doing what she wants to do. He said that Nyjah expressed that she's talking to other people and that she just wants him to leave her alone. He then asked me, do I know about her dealing with any men or anything? I tell him I've only seen her with one guy. It was some light-skinned dude who she went to the bowling alley with. But other than that, I didn't see anything. I told him, with me being 25 and him being 20, I said, you're a young man. You have your own car, you got a place, you're doing stuff. You should be living life. You shouldn't be, getting beat or dealing with all this stuff. Just be young and live your life, That's when he then...
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have that sort of a conversation with him?
Not at all.
Okay, tell me what...
The conversation was 2 to 3 minutes. I never entered his car. I was walking out.
No, tell me what you said to him.
I told him that me and her got into it. You might not see me around here. I don't know what the situation is. And he did tell me, focus on yourself. Y'all will be good.
Okay, so it's pretty much, so whatever. That was a discussion. You had a fight with her on the 22nd, and there was registering some complaint.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, if you say, you might not see me around here, we had an argument, it was registering some sort of a complaint. You didn't leave there happy on the 22nd.
Yes.
Is it right? You didn't leave there happy.
I never was upset, like how he's trying to make it seem. We didn't have this conversation of me being beat on or me crying.
You didn't leave, Mr. June, you didn't leave there happy that morning.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
You would have had an altercation with her the night before or earlier, and you stopped and had a brief conversation with him. I don't have to get into the nuances of it. You weren't happy. Okay, that's the 27th, and you say you told him you're a young guy. You don't have to...
live your life,
Live your life.
And then he thanks me in those messages that I gave you right
Okay. Would you tell me what you know with regard to the vandalism?
Once I opened the door, I seen shattered glass all over the floor. His room was completely vandalized. There was a knife in the wall.
Can you explain these photographs to me?
I can't explain the photographs. I didn't do it.
Carlos Guillen claims his former roommate, Nija Pine, and her boyfriend, Gallo June, vandalized his property. Nija is countersuing for a false arrest, tire damage, and cyberbullying.
Now, 22nd moves into the 23rd, 24th. Anything happened the 23rd, 24th, 25th?
On the 26th, I had got a phone call from one of my friends saying that Nija, at the place that we were working at, was going around telling people that I was trying to sleep with her boyfriend, saying that I'm trying to make him gay and that I go for straight men.
Just a second.
All this stuff.
Just a second. That's all hearsay, by the way, unless you have a witness to that.
Yes.
And I assume that you could have a witness to that if you like. Did you, Ms. Pine, have any conversation at work with any of your colleagues about discussions that the plaintiff may have had with your boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Do you remember who?
It's actually another coworker.
Coworker.
A mutual friend between us.
Okay. And without going into the text of the conversation, were you registering complaints about Mr. Guillen?
Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor.
That's all. That's all that's
So
relevant.
with that being said, that following morning on the 27th, I then walked up to her room around 8 o'clock because, you know, she's living in my house. I'm helping her out. She's talking about me at my place of business. So I went up there to go ask her, you know, what's going on, what's happening. The moment I go up there, she's like, you're this and this and this. We start arguing at this point. Like, we're both yelling at each other. It's getting heated. She then tells me that she's going to have some dudes come and beat me up since I want to argue with a girl and all this stuff. Men then come to my home. 6 dudes come to my house.
How much later after the conversation?
This is probably like literally 10 minutes after the conversation. Like, this was very fast. She had these men come to my house. I saw one of the dudes outside. I was trying to, you know, go outside and just be like, look, I'm not trying to do anything to her. We got into an argument. I'm hearing stuff. Gallo, out of nowhere, comes from a corner and tries to swing at me. Once he does that, I then go inside my house, I go into my room, and I look at my window, and it's 6 men outside my home. She then lets these men inside the house. They're banging on my door, talk about bring your outside and all this stuff. Oh, you want to fight women, da-da-da. All this mess, banging on my door and stuff.
Was anyone else in the house other than the two of them?
It was my cousin with me at the time.
That's not your cousin?
No, this is my witness, Imani. It was my cousin at the time.
A witness to what?
A witness to the next day, Your Honor. But back with this day, my cousin was with me. He wanted to go out and fight and do it. I said, no, we're going to sit here and wait. The police end up getting called from the neighbors because it's 6 men outside banging and cussing and making a scene. The police then get there. There was an officer who, I don't know if she already knew previously or who she was cool with, but the officer said that because I'm a 6'8" man and she is a woman, she feels intimidated by me and all this stuff. So he told me that the men who were there is allowed to stay there because she is a tenant there and that's her place, so they're considered her guest. Once that was said, Your Honor, I immediately got everything that I could and I booked a hotel at the Westin. I stayed there at the Westin for 9 days. That day, she was going around on social media saying that I was scary and that I ran in my room and that I called the cops, just basically talking smack about me on the gram. Hold on, Your Honor, I'm trying to find it.
If I may interject, if I may.
Not yet.
All right.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. But she went on social media. It's
Okay,
like,
just a second. So was what you're telling me you don't have that?
It might be in that file, yeah, sorry. But it's like a message of her saying like, oh, y'all won't believe who caught the police and ran in the room crying and like just talking smack, Your Honor.
Okay, here it goes.
Yeah, that's what she posted. Once she posted that and, people start hitting me up.
I see it.
Yeah. Once she started posting that, people started hitting me up. They're like, what's going on, and this and this. So I then went on Instagram and I had made a comment. I called her for short, stands for because she was going around saying that I was dirty. She went around telling that I was dirty, so I just let it be known on social media that the only thing dirty was her. Since she was talking about me on the gram, I decided to, react.
The truth of the matter is, although it's not pleasant, that's what people do on the internet.
Yeah.
And
I was just matching energy, you know? Yeah.
Got it. Let's get to your lawsuit, sir. So far, she's lived there 3 months and she's paid 3 months' rent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Your claim is that during the time that you were in the hotel, when you were out of the apartment, there was damage done to the property.
Right.
Do you have photographs of the damage that was done to the apartment while you were out at the hotel?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see it, please?
Here you go.
Where did you go when you finally left the plaintiff's house?
After I got my U-Haul, he dropped me off to my uncle's house. And
On what date?
So I went there the night of the 27th, August 27, 2022, and I came back the next day on the 28th to get my things.
Okay. So he left on the 27th, you left on the 27th after he did?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you leave as well with your girlfriend? Correct. Where did you go?
I went to my grandfather's house where I was staying.
And how long have you been staying with your grandfather?
All my life.
Where do you live now?
With my grandfather.
And where do you live?
With my uncle.
When you finally got back into your house, Mr. Quillian, this is the way you found it.
Yes.
On what date did you come back? Did you find it this condition?
That was August 28th, Your Honor.
August 28th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I had woke up to a whole bunch of phone calls from my witness, Imani, and a family member saying that they were there. They saw the place.
You want to stand up?
Yeah.
Would you tell me what you know about what happened on the 27th/28th of August with regard to the vandalism?
I wasn't there the 27th, but we had a conversation that led to me coming to the apartment. So I came to the townhouse, retrieved the key to get inside of the house. Once I opened the door, I seen shattered glass all over the floor. His room was completely vandalized. There was a knife in the wall, but this was all like downstairs. Once I realized—
I'm going to show you these photographs, and I'm going to ask you if these photographs are a true and accurate representation of what you saw when you walked in on the 28th.
Yeah. Yes.
May I have them back, please, Kevin? Have you been to Mr. Quillian's house before?
Yes.
Was it always in good order?
Yes. He's a clean freak.
You moved out on the 28th for how long?
I moved out on the 28th. I didn't come
Permanently?
back after that, yes.
Permanently?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you seen these photographs?
Yes, I did, actually. His family member sent them to me.
Okay. Can you explain these photographs to me?
I can't explain the photographs. I didn't do it.
Okay, fine.
I wasn't there, actually, and I have proof I wasn't.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Just a second.
Yeah, okay.
Just a second.
It's crazy.
She may not have personally done it. The question is, he certainly didn't do damage to his own property.
Oh.
There is no... Well, if you have proof that he did
have
damage
proof,
to
Your
his
Honor.
own property, then I'd certainly like to see it.
I do have proof I was not there, and...
I don't care whether you were not there or not.
Okay.
He can't show me he wasn't there, and your brother is not here, and he can't show me he wasn't there. So I have to decide if it was a stranger, the plaintiff, or this side, maybe not you, but someone acting on your behalf.
Carlos Guillen is accusing his former roommate, Nija Pai, and her boyfriend, Gallo June, of destroying his property. Nija claims Carlos had her falsely arrested and damaged her tires.
Right now I have damage.
What I would like to say...
No, I don't want you to say anything. I want you to tell me what proof you had that
All right,
he
I would like
damaged
to say,
his property.
I would like to restate I have proof that he did not care about the apartment, that when I moved in, it was in horrible condition, actually, and he's not a clean freak, and I wasn't there to vandalize the apartment at all.
Oh, just a second. I just asked you a question. Can't you give me an answer? It's a simple answer. You said to me, I have proof that he vandalized his property. Is that what you said?
Well, I have, Your Honor, if I may.
Just a second, I want to make sure that that's what you said. I have proof that he vandalized his property.
His property was vandalized when I moved in, is what I'm saying.
Oh, no, madam.
And I did.
Oh, just a second.
She says, I have proof, Your Honor, he damaged his own property.
Okay, so all I want you to do is show me proof that he damaged his own property.
Okay, so I do not have video proof of him doing it, but based on my countersuit and the fact that I was falsely arrested and the harassment, the lies, even the online post that I haven't been able to show you yet, that he is framing me and that he did vandalize his own apartment, he didn't care about it.
Just a second. I'm willing to look at proof of any proof that you have that he vandalized his own apartment.
So around the time...
Not so around, just show me.
Okay, sure. So what I have in my hand here, Your Honor, if I may,
Kevin,
is this proof that before I moved in, the apartment was not well taken care of. And like I said, I don't have proof that he went in and did it himself, but I do have proof that the apartment was never cared about to begin with. And after he actually moved all his things out, which he claimed and stated on social media, he took all his valuables.
You can take these back. This is not what I'm talking about, madam. That's a dirty bathroom that you showed me. This is vandalism.
I didn't do
There is no question in my mind that this is vandalism. This isn't dirty house. It's disgusting. Somebody took powder and liquid. This isn't just sloppy and messy. This is clearly vandalism. So is that all the proof that you have? You said, I have proof that he vandalized his own property. I'm waiting to see that proof because otherwise there are certain things that ring true.
Well,
do you have
as far
any?
as that goes, I would like to recant that because I don't have proof that he did it, but I do have proof that I'm being framed. Yes.
You have to understand, Ms. Pine, there are two things. Either he vandalized his own property, which I find is unreasonable because he would have to live with all this filth that's in his bed.
Well,
I'm speaking. I'm speaking. I would have to find that he took a knife to his own sofa and destroyed the cushions to his own sofa. And quite frankly, I don't know this gentleman well, but he does not appear to be psychotic. Now, I don't say that he may not be a truth teller all the time, but he doesn't appear to be psychotic. So no person who's not psychotic does this to themselves. So either some stranger in the night came in and vandalized his property, or you, your boyfriend, and or your brother, who, didn't you say that you called your brother to come?
I called my father.
Your father to come?
Yes, and my father called my brother, and he came.
Just a second.
Yes.
I knew I heard brother in here. Did your brother
I didn't
come?
call my brother.
Okay. Called at least brother. I don't know if father came too. So I have to find if it was total stranger, the plaintiff, or you, boyfriend, father, brother, friend, whatever it was. So all I'm asking you to do is, do you have any other proof, other than the nonsense that you gave me, that he caused this serious vandalism of his own house?
I do not have proof that he caused it, but I do have proof I was not there, and
I don't care whether you were not there or not.
Okay.
Do you understand? I don't care whether you weren't there or not. He can't show me he wasn't there, and your brother is not here, and he can't show me he wasn't there, and your father is not here, and he can't show me that he wasn't there. Do you understand? So I have to decide if it was a stranger, the plaintiff, or this side, maybe not you, but someone acting on your behalf.
To be continued. Frank Automitis is suing his wife's boyfriend, Willie Albrecht, for filing a false police report and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 2068, Automatis versus Albrecht.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Albrecht, I'm going to start with you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You are the current live-in boyfriend of the plaintiff's ex-wife?
Soon to be.
Of the plaintiff's wife.
Correct.
Mr. Adamus' complaint is that as a result of you making a call to the police, he was defamed when You said that he was trespassing. It was a false call to the police, and he wants to be compensated to the tune of $2,500. That's what the case is about. So in order to make this whole thing in context that I understand, how long have you been living with Mrs. Adamas?
Since June of 21.
How long do you know her?
Since January of 21.
Have you ever been married?
Yes, I have.
When and for how long?
Previously to April of this year, I was married for 15 years.
So you were married when you moved in with Mrs. Adamas?
Yeah.
Legally?
Legally.
Did you own your own home?
I did.
With your then wife?
Correct.
Did she stay in the house?
She did.
Does she have a boyfriend?
Yes, she does.
Do you like him?
No, I do not.
Does he live in the house?
Not at this time.
Did he ever?
Yes, he did.
And you didn't like it?
No, I did not.
So I want you to understand that there is maybe a reason why the plaintiff resents you living in a house that he owns with his still wife, and you're living there. Do you understand?
I do.
Because you sort of have the same situation. You're kindred spirits. Actually, you're kindred spirits.
Except my 15-year-old son also lives with this young man.
So who cares?
Oh.
Well, that's all right. But you understand why he might be annoyed.
I do, but...
Okay. So now, understanding all that, I want you to tell me, because I'm not totally sympathetic with you, sir, because if you and your wife are divorcing, you're entitled to move on with your life, and so is she entitled to move on with your life. Where do you live? You live in an apartment?
I live in a condominium.
Okay. How long have you lived in the condo?
I've lived when we separated March of 2021.
And who do you live with?
I currently live with my...
No. Who do you live with is the question.
My older son.
And how old is he?
19.
And how many bedrooms are in the condo?
2.
And what about you? Have a girlfriend?
Yes, I do.
Ever stay over?
My house? No.
Do you ever stay at her house?
No.
Does she live with her children?
Yes.
And is she divorced?
Yes.
And she stayed in the house?
Yes.
You see how all these things go? It's just, as the world turns, it's just what happens. I've been there. Understand it all. Can either make it hard or difficult. Who pays the mortgage on the house?
Paid off.
Okay. So you have one teenage child, your wife has the other.
Yes.
And how close is the judgment to divorce to being finalized?
Not close.
Not close. Is that for financial reasons or custody reasons?
Financial.
Had to do with the house?
Yes.
Okay. How much is the house? I'm just fleshing this out.
Speculating.
Probably because I'm a little bit of a yenta. Behind this purple robe is a little bit of a...
You know, with the housing market, being a CPA, you know, it's hard to say, you have to do, but I would say somewhere...
Why don't you give Sarah the address of the house, and we'll tell you what this estimate is.
California.
While she's looking that up, tell me when you and your wife purchased it.
2006, August of 2006.
And during the course of the marriage, were you employed all the time?
100%.
And what about your wife?
100%.
So you were both employed and both contributed to the house. Fair statement?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
It's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. The estimate is $552,000.
And just for my own curiosity, what's the rub about the house?
The rub
Come on, it's simple.
The rub about the house is she's now went in and spent an ungodly amount of money on fixer-upper after I moved out and went into a massive amount of debt. The house was fully paid off, and she's now in massive debt. She's put in fixer-upper.
No, don't look at her.
Okay, that's
look
what
at me.
Okay.
So she's fixed up the house after you moved out.
Correct.
And?
It's not a problem.
Just a second. So what's the problem?
There is no problem with the house. Meaning that, you know, we're still debating who's actually going to end up with the house. We haven't decided.
Well, you know, whoever wants to be in the house buys the other one out.
Exactly.
For $260,000.
Correct.
Okay? It would seem to me that would be easy.
I think so.
Okay. Now that I've satisfied the yenta in me, I'm getting back to the case. All right. You called the police. This incident, according to what I read, Mr. Adamas, happened on November 5th
Correct.
You went to the house to pick up your son?
Correct.
Okay. Was that a meeting that had been arranged before?
I have visitation every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks when?
Every other weekend.
Well, so was this a weekend?
Yes, that was one where I was going to go pick him up.
Okay. Had you spoken to him?
Yes.
And so he was expecting you to come at a certain time?
Absolutely.
What time?
Approximately there, we'd arranged about 7:15, that 7:15, 7:30 that night.
Okay. And you had visitation fixed by the court, and you had been enjoying that with your son for a period of time?
Correct.
Okay. What happened when you got there at 7:15?
Well, on that particular visit, my wife had taken his key to the house, and I had...
No. I told you, don't look at her.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
I'm getting sympathetic with her. I just want you to know that.
Okay.
7:15, you went to pick up your son, and you were annoyed because your wife had taken your son's key away from him.
Correct.
And you thought your son should have his key because he was 15.
Yes.
And?
So at that particular time, I
don't look down.
Okay, look at me. I went into the house. I'd never been in that house since I moved out, and so I wanted...
How did you get into the house?
The door was open.
Okay, the door isn't wide open. You mean it was unlocked?
Unlocked.
Okay, so let's not say the door was open.
Okay,
the door was unlocked.
Correct.
Door was unlocked. You don't live there anymore. You live in a condo.
Correct.
Okay, did you ring the bell?
No.
Knock at the door?
Yes.
Nobody there's a bell. There's a bell.
There was a bell.
There's a bell.
Yes.
Didn't ring the bell. Open the door. Now, open the door.
Yes.
Your house, I own half of it. I'm going to ask my wife a question.
Yes.
Keep going.
Walked into the house. At that particular time, she is sitting there with my son. At that particular time, I asked her to get a copy of the key, and we became into an argument. She didn't want me to have a copy of the key. And I tried to explain to her, without a copy of the key, he can't get in the house. If I drop him off at odd hours, then you don't have to be home. So then she got upset. At that point, then I never met Mr. Albrecht before this time. He comes storming down the stairs. Mr. Albrecht is then, I think Mr. Albrecht's coming to beat me up. He is storming down the stairs. I've since learned that Mr. Albrecht...
Just stop.
Okay.
Just pay careful attention to me. So far, you're in the wrong.
Okay.
Let me just tell you.
Okay.
So far, from a legal perspective...
Right.
...and a common sense perspective...
Okay.
...you're in the wrong. I'll explain why in a second.
So I walk into that house.
We got past that.
Okay.
We got past that. So now you want a copy of the key, and she says no. I don't care if you want to give it to your parakeet.
Okay.
You're not entitled to a copy of the key.
Okay.
Let's start right there.
Okay.
And let's start with my first point is if you're going there to pick up your son for a prearranged visit,
yes,
you don't walk into the house. You have a 15-year-old son. A 15-year-old son has a phone.
I tried to call him, yes.
Oh, you tried to call him. What happened?
He said he was there, that he said...
Be very careful what you say to me.
Okay,
You
was
called
there.
your son.
And I called my son, be ready to go. He said, okay, I'm ready to go.
That was at about 7 o'clock.
Yes, approximately.
What do you mean, yes, approximately?
Yeah, I was probably on my way to pick him up. And so when I come up there, I call him on the phone.
Okay, he's ready to go.
Yes, are you ready to go?
Okay, so you walked in.
Okay.
You had no right to enter the house.
Did not know that.
Well, you had no right to enter the house. You knew that your wife changed the locks.
I did not know at that time she had changed the lock because the door was open. I had not been
No. Listen to me. You went there because... Mr. Adonis, you have to be a two-process thinker, sir, before you give me a lot of baloney. You knew that your old key didn't open the house. Otherwise, you would have said, your mother took away your key. I'll make you another key from my copy.
True.
True. Of course it's true. So, you know.
And later today.
I wasn't allowed to live with my dad and stepmom because they moved into a 55 and over neighborhood.
When?
They...
If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
Frank Automitis claims his wife's boyfriend, Willie Albrecht, wrongfully called the police while visiting his own house.
Okay, if you needed a copy of the key to a house that you partially own,
yes,
you would have had a key to the house.
Correct.
You didn't need a copy to make because you would have had one.
Okay.
So you knew that your old key didn't open the house. Otherwise, you would have said, your mother took away your key. I'll make you another key from my copy.
True.
True. Of course it's true. So, you know, so he called the police and he said you were trespassing.
No, he didn't say that at all.
What did he say?
He said he told me I was trespassing. Then he called on the phone, and when he's on the phone with the police department, he is telling them that I am now committing domestic violence. Now, that is a very serious charge. I mean, okay, we can debate about my access to the house, but when you call the police and say that I'm committing domestic violence, which is a crime in the state of California, that's a game changer. So
I want to ask you a question, Mr. Adonis. When you walked into the house and you saw your wife and your son, I want to know, when you walked in uninvited,
True.
Your first words were, I want a copy of the key. That's what you said. You said, I want a copy of the key. Would you read that back to me, please, Whitney?
I'll go with that.
At that particular time, I asked her to get a copy of the key, and we became into an argument.
So now you're in an argument, and you're a trespasser. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Okay.
This court is adjourned.
Very, very shocking.
She's absolutely correct, as she usually is.
I had no idea this was going to blow up into World War III.
Because he's all about winning. He didn't get his way. He was throwing a temper tantrum.
I feel that he's just trying to do whatever he can to keep me out of the picture.
He lives by his own rules.
He just simply wants me out of the way so he could take over.
Let the courts decide.
It's always so unfortunate when people divorce. I mean, the story is this. I could have written the script without even listening to the people. But they have two teenage boys, 15, 19 years old. One's chosen to live with the father. One's chosen to live with the mother. Clearly, the son said to him, Mom took away my key. Mm-hmm. She clearly took away his key for a reason. Mm-hmm. I didn't even want to get into what the reason was, but clearly she took away the key for a reason. Otherwise, she doesn't look like an unreasonable person. Her boyfriend doesn't look like an unreasonable guy. And he was flexing his muscles. Mm-hmm. And the fight is over the house, because I gather that's the only real asset they have. Yeah. Anyway, unfortunate when people don't realize that they have to love their children more than they hate each other.
Case number 2075, Johnson versus McIntosh. All parties, please step forward.
Dominique Johnson is suing her children's uncle, Chris McIntosh, for a truck she never received.
Miss Johnson, this is your brother-in-law. I believe that, is it your husband or is he your ex-husband?
No, it's just my kid's father.
Okay. The father of your children is currently incarcerated?
Yes.
So he's not your brother-in-law, he's just the brother of the father of your children?
Yes.
Okay, you have two children?
I have three.
Is he the uncle of all three?
Yes.
Okay. There came a time when you were in need of a new vehicle or a different vehicle. Your car was giving you trouble.
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh, according to what I've read, has tried to maintain a relationship with his brother's children.
Yes.
Despite the fact that you no longer have a relationship with him.
Yes.
And according to what I'm putting together, you reached out to him, or you were on the phone with him and told him you needed another car.
Yes.
And according to you, he said he had a car, a truck.
Yes.
That he would sell you for $2,700.
Yes, that he would personally bring to me.
And he did, in fact, bring you a truck.
He didn't.
So on what date did you buy it?
I don't
think. You know, you're coming to court today. You knew that this was the issue when you came here.
Yeah.
Not yeah, yes.
Dominique Johnson claims her children's uncle, Chris McIntosh, owes for the cost of a truck she never received.
According to you, he said he had a car, a truck.
Yes.
That he would sell you for $2,700.
Yes, that he would personally bring to me.
And he did, in fact, bring you a truck.
He didn't.
Never brought you a truck.
Never brought me the truck, never returned my money, anything.
Oh.
I even tried
Just a second.
Okay.
So you sent him the $2,700.
Yes.
What date?
June 21st of this year.
What happened to her $2,700?
Bought the truck there and then dropped it off.
What truck did you bring there?
2007 Suburban.
And where did you get that truck from?
I got it from an auction.
Okay, I'd like to see the paperwork.
I don't have the paperwork.
Well, that's unfortunate. Why wouldn't you bring the paperwork? It's only a couple of months ago.
Because the auction is every first Thursday. It's not the same person running the same auction. They don't have the same paperwork for the auction.
Well, if you had paperwork, you would have also have had a title for it.
Yeah, and I left it in the glove compartment box.
What's the name of the auction?
Towing.
Where are they located?
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Sarah, would you look that up, please? She did send you the money.
Correct.
How did she send it to you?
Cash App.
Yep, which I have proof, Your Honor.
No, there's only one issue. She says that you never brought any truck. You say, well, you bought this truck at an auction. The auction is every Thursday?
Every first Thursday of the month.
First Thursday. So on what date did you buy it?
I don't...
Think. You know, you're coming to court today. You knew that this was the issue when you came here.
Yeah.
Not yeah, yes. So what date was it that you bought the truck? That you have no paperwork
Thursday.
for at all?
Thursday.
Which Thursday?
What month was that I bought you the truck? I really don't know. Like, I'm being so serious right now, like...
Honestly, if I could speak, it was June 21st I sent him the money. June 21st was when he was supposed to bring the truck to me. He never bought the truck. Then he stated to me that he sold the truck and that he had another one that was less, and I have that truck as well. This was the first truck initially I was supposed to get.
Did he ever bring you any truck?
No, not at all.
Do you have any phone messages?
I do.
I'd like to see them, please.
And towing. It's a towing and auction house.
Okay, say when they have auctions?
It doesn't list it on their website, but I could try and see.
It's a lot of them, honestly, a lot of messages.
I have those dates of the auction. They list their past auctions. There was one May 5th of this year, June 5th of this year, July 2nd, August 6th, and September 3rd of this year.
June
all
what?
the most recent. June 5th. And I actually have a list of every car that was included in that June 5th auction. So if you give me the make and model, I could see if it was included in that auction on June 5th.
You went in June for the auction or in July?
Yeah, June 5th.
He said a 2007 Yukon, right?
No, Suburban.
2007 Suburban.
There was actually two different trucks that...
Well, that's the one he said he bought.
The only car from 2007 at the June 5th auction was a 2007 Nissan Murano.
Nissan Murano. Wasn't a Nissan Murano. That was the only one that was sold in June 2007.
It was sold in 2007, but I bought a 07 Tahoe Suburban.
I understand that. But you say you bought it in June, and they list on the website everything that they sold in the June auction. Am I understanding that right, Sarah?
Yes.
They list all the cars that they sold in the June auction. And the only car that they sold that was a 2007 was a Murano. He says, and I will be leaving in about an hour or two after I get the Venmo.
Mm-hmm.
Would you please just put where you start to ask for your money back because you didn't get the truck? That's what I want to see. I want my money back because you didn't bring me the truck.
Okay. There was no Chevy Tahoe 2007 at the July 2nd auction.
Either.
And a lot of the vehicles, a select few, are above $1,500, and that's for newer models. Everything else is under $950.
Thank you. There was no such car either in June or July.
No.
Okay. That's so interesting that they have that information on a website. Ms. Johnson, you can't just give me your phone and expect me to go through pages. All I want, you said you had something indicating that you told him you wanted your money back because you didn't get a truck. Okay. So far, there's no evidence that he bought you a truck from the place that he said he bought you a truck.
Yep, here's the part where I'm asking for the money back. He doesn't have proof that he even bought the truck.
No, there is no proof that he bought the truck.
He never bought the truck. Okay, so starting from here, this is me asking if he wanted to just cash at me back my money because he never showed up.
Read it to me.
Oh, okay. It says, do you want to just cash at me back the whole $2,700 because all this waiting isn't necessary. It's just a few taps to cash at me back my money. We can say forget the whole thing because now this isn't sitting well with me. This was supposed to be easy. I don't have my truck or my money. Like, how does that work? And then I offered to just go down there and get it myself. And then he said that there was no place. I said, okay, but how do I get it home with no place? So this whole time he was kind of dragging me on. And then this is the picture of another truck that he sent me.
That's a picture of him?
Yeah, he's posing in front of the truck, the second truck he supposedly had bought for me.
At the auction, yeah. He just told me he bought the second truck at an auction. There's no indication that that auction house where he said he bought it sold a truck that he said that he bought, either in June or July. Got that right?
Yes.
Okay, I don't have to waste any more time. You have no paperwork, Mr. McIntosh, that you bought this truck. You have no proof at all that you brought this phantom truck to her house. Why would she be asking for her money back?
Because I bought her a truck and I dropped it off in front of her house, left her the paperwork saying what's wrong with the truck and the truck. She says that she didn't want it, so I said my finder's fee was only like $400, and that's $200 for just a bus ticket to get there. She can sell the truck and get her money back. That's what I told her.
$2,700, judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I hope this don't affect the relationship with my nieces and nephew.
I'm not really here to bad talk anybody. I just wanted, my money back.
I left it there with the papers and the receipts.
Right is right, wrong is wrong.
She said she didn't want it. I told her she can sell it back, get her money back.
I feel like he kind of screwed it up in a way.
I just want to be a good uncle all the time.
I love when a website is so meticulous and gives us all the evidence that we need. This website had a very well planned out photos.
Towing company.
Towing and auctioneer house had every single auction, every car that was sold, photos, the username of the person who purchased it, and the price of the vehicle.
I can't imagine a company like that doing that voluntarily. And it has to be by law to be licensed in order to avoid stolen cars being auctioned off. Has to be very smart.
Yeah, good way to track the evidence.
That was impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you.